back. Dude, why can't I pull it off right now? Wow, one so far. Unfortunate. It's a home run. Dude, what the fuck, man? So I've had my foot going slightly off, it turns out. It's just hard to see because everything is black. So I couldn't see my foot before. You have to be going slightly off. See if this works. Apparently it doesn't. We didn't get anyone on that one. unfortunate. What happened? Why did he pass it to him? What the fuck? This game is stupid, man. What? What happened? Why is he so fucking bad? What? Still a competitive game. Why is he so slow? That was insane. Base is loaded. Let's go! That's what that just said. unfortunate. Not good enough. Apparently I can manipulate where these guys run. possible. No way, man. No fucking way, man. What is he doing? What the fuck? If I hold the direction, they run in that direction. I don't know why. I found out how to win. We won. Cool, I found out how to win in this game for free. How cool. In that case, I'm gonna watch a video. I was watching a video that was pretty good.
In one bag, and I saw an old boy, and I went, this was in the second bag. It was on the bag. It's on there. So I didn't open the second bag. Okay. I called my husband. I said, Brian Jr. had already gone over his friend's house. He said, Mom, I want to go over to Kai's house. And I said, okay, but, don't be over there too long. He goes, yeah, I should only be over there maybe 3 or 4 hours. It's good to hang out with her. And I said, okay.
This friend was Kylan Like, and police would speak with her shortly.
So I called his father. He said, hi, I'm speaking to Andy from school. He said, I think it's not 12:30. 12:40, whatever. I don't know what time it was. I just said, you need to come over here right now. And he said, okay, well, I got Andy with me. And I said, you need to come over here right now. And he said, okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. And he hung up.
Kylan Like's mother, Heather Gale, recalled what she saw after Brian ended the call.
And my only memory of that was the way he peeled out of the driveway. I actually have a picture somewhere on my phone of the marks when he left to go, because his brother called him, I guess, and said, I need my car back.
We know, of course, that this was a ruse on the part of Brian's parents to get him back to the house after their horrifying discovery.
Brian, my husband, was already there by that point, and he put a towel over top of him. So it's not that poor man's bed.
Of course,
He left the way he...
recalled what she saw after Brian ended the call.
And my only memory of that was the way he peeled out of the driveway. I actually have a picture somewhere on my phone of the marks when he left to go, because his brother called him, I guess, and said, I need my car back.
We know, of course, that this was a ruse on the part of Brian's parents to get him back to the house after their horrifying discovery.
Brian, my husband, was already there by that point, and he put a towel over hatched a plan to call Brian and tell him that his brother needed the Mustang for a driving lesson because he's one of learners. And just as he pulled up, I called him.
I mean, he kind of knew something was up. Dad, you ever feel like the day's going to change? He started saying things. I'm like, yeah, it just seemed really vague. Me and Andy was sitting there, and Mom was on the phone over there talking to 911. And it just seemed like it took forever.
As his parents continue to speak with the detectives,
What?
investigators Pete Berg and Lisa
Didn't work this
Norcross
time.
join Brian in his room. Over the next 2 hours, they will hear a shocking story of blood-curdling evil. And before the interview is over, they will even learn the dreadful truth about Brian's ill-fated trip to the boat ramp.
Oh, thank you. Right. Well, this is Lisa. She will try.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, yeah.
Good, thanks.
Never really good.
Okay.
Trade me seats?
Sure. Ooh, this is a special chair.
No, this is the special chair because it's soft and I'm old.
Brian is as cooperative and pleasant with the investigators as he was with the deputy who escorted him to the sheriff's office, but his nervous shaking and insatiable thirst indicate he is perhaps not as calm as he's trying to appear. The question is whether he's anxious about his fate or excited about his moment in the spotlight. One thing to keep in mind is that, according to his mother, Brian is diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and leg shaking can be a normal, stimulating behavior for people with these diagnoses. They read Brian his Miranda rights, and he agrees to speak with the officers.
Brian from here?
Yeah. Where did you go to school? I've went to Broadway Elementary School just across from my dad's house. Then I went to Brooklyn Middle School.
Right.
Graduated last year.
Good for you. Okay. Do you work?
Yeah.
Where do you work at?
Not even part-time. I was gonna say part-time, not even. As a bagger / courtesy clerk for Safeway, I work anywhere from 2 to 4 days a week.
It may seem at first glance that the detectives are engaging in idle chit-chat to set Brian at ease, but this is part of rapport building, and it's also crucial for them to establish early on that Brian has been handling responsibilities such as school and work, and is perfectly capable of carrying on a normal conversation. This will make it much harder for Brian to claim before a jury that he was unable to tell right from wrong.
And how did you get here? I murdered someone. Okay.
It seems that investigator Berg was merely asking how Brian physically arrived at the sheriff's office, but Brian doesn't stand on ceremony. With a tone and head tilt that suggests he's bragging, Brian makes the ultimate confession. In fact, he's all too willing to discuss this horrific crime with detectives.
Just start back to the beginning and go slow and tell me as many details as you can remember. So, because I mean, Murray going to jail for the 15 years probably. I have no idea. Because we're at the beginning. For the 15 years probably. I have no idea. Because we're at the beginning. It's murder. I mean, I'm going to jail for 20 probably, but so I figure, why fight it? Okay. So what's important to me is to learn as much about you and what you did and as I can. Well, as many details as you can give me, the better.
Brian's polite exterior only adds to the surreal depravity of his confession. He's somewhat of a unique suspect.
Let's see. Yeah, it was the night of February 27th. It was a full moon. And I figured I could see so well, why not drive out? I am in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder, so I am not thinking, shall say, positively. Okay. And I'm cruising around for an hour and a half. So I fill up on gas halfway through, and I'm eventually driving underneath the bridge near the sheriff's office. I'm bad with words. I'm just... Yeah. By the way, I'm a habitual late shaker. I have a question. Mm-hmm. You send people who have committed crimes like me. Do we stay in this county jail or are we moved? It all depends on what the judge says.
Brian maintains his spirit of cooperation, but he's clearly concerned about what happens after this interview is over. It's interesting to note how he compares himself to others with the phrase, people who have committed crimes like me, almost as if he has joined an exclusive club.
So we were at the bridge? Yes, I was at the bridge. I was cruising. There was a road underneath, right? Under the overpass. And I was driving along, and I see a shape here on the railway track. So I'm like, oh, interesting. So I go up, and as I'm looking, I see a large thing wrapped in a canvas. Okay. And I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grab my knife, I put on 3 layers of gloves, because plastic gloves can betray their users because they're so thin, those vinyl gloves, by putting your fingerprints through. So I put on 3 on one hand. I took the knife, I pulled back the canvas, and I stabbed his neck. Okay. He was panicking at first. In his old man voice, he was in his 50s. I know why I call him an old man.
Oh, he was like 70, dude. What a weirdo. Oh, shit.
Canvas, 3 on one hand. I took the knife, I pulled back the canvas, and I stabbed his neck. Okay. He was panicking at first. In his old man voice, he was in his 50s. I know why I call him an old man. He was saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why? And I just kept on stabbing his neck. Is it okay if I do a demonstration? Oh, yeah. This is him. I was straddled on top of him like this. Okay. And he couldn't fight back. It was actually surprisingly easy. I was barely breaking a sweat. I thought, oh, this guy, he's going to be tough. But no, it was actually surprisingly easy. And during the time, I was growling and making animalistic noises.
At this point, there can be no doubt that Brian is excited to tell the investigators all about his horrific deed. Not only is he pleased to be holding court, he's actually reliving the murder and relishing the memory, demonstrated by a smile. As for any question of this crime being premeditated, Brian admits to having put on 3 layers of gloves, which he already had with him.
The whole ordeal lasted about a minute and a half. Okay. And when I was finished stabbing him, he took out his last breath, a grunt, and his head was halfway cut off in stabs. All the while, no, actually, after I killed him, I just couldn't stop saying, stinky, dirty, dirty, stinky, stinky. I wasn't selling anything, but...
In an eerie coincidence, on one of his social media accounts, Brian identifies himself as that stinky boy, registered under his email ID.
And why were you saying that? I don't know. Okay. But you remember doing it, so... Yeah. I suppose it was just me speaking out my mind at that moment. It was a pouring out of the mind. Were you worried about, this looks like it's pretty close to the road. Have somebody seen you or catching you? It was 11 p.m., so not many were driving by. Well, it was behind the pillar. So, here's the road. Uh-huh. It was here. So people would only see a brief thing here and here. So were you worried about them seeing you? I was worried about one of them stopping. What did you think could happen if somebody... Well, if they looked, it was quite dark under there, so they wouldn't have seen the guy unless they looked. They would have seen me holding a bloody 12-inch knife, wearing gloves, and wearing a mask to conceal my identity, a face mask. Okay. So you weren't doing it for COVID, you were doing it to hide your face? Partially. Social distancing. Right. Yeah, but no one stopped. And I'm just like, proves the bystander effect.
His laughter and offhand comments speak to his mindset, which is that nothing is wrong. Brian mentions the bystander effect here, which is the idea that the more people there are watching a crime, the less likely that anyone will stand up and do anything about it. There are a few different reasons behind this, But we know that it often occurs because people may be a few different set.
Bystander effect. Partially. Social distancing. Right. Yeah, but no one stopped. And I'm just like, proves the bystander effect.
His laughter and offhand comments speak to his mindset, which is that nothing is wrong. Brian mentions the bystander effect here, which is the idea that the more people there are watching a crime, the less likely that anyone will stand up and do anything about it. There are a few different reasons behind this, but we know that it often occurs because people may be afraid that they'll be judged by the rest of the crowd if they step in first to do something. Ultimately, people are social creatures, and the vast majority of people chose to do whatever the rest of the crowd does. It's a rare person that steps forward alone.
I noticed you got a cut on your hand. Is that from... Oh, that was when I was doing gas, when I filled up. What happened was, because I don't want to be seen in a gas station with a knife poking out of my pocket, I put it in the car on the back seat floor. When I'm done with it, I try and grab it, but my hand slips and grabs the blade, and as I pick it up, it slices these two fingers. Okay. And then, let's see. Yeah. And then, after that, I stripped his clothes. I cut open his belly. You can see his guts. They're really pink. Sorry, that was morbid.
One of the exceptional aspects of Brian's confession is the level of detail he provides. Together with his casual commentary and jokes, these details convey to investigators that Brian is being fully truthful about what he did. It's also worth noting that morbid humor has long been one of Brian's trademarks.
What about other kids in the neighborhood or on the bus? He didn't really, he had a couple of friends that he's had since elementary, but he had a morbid sense of humor and would make jokes, and I'd say, Brian, that is not funny. He'd go, yeah, it is, Mom. You just don't get my sense of humor.
In an interview with prosecutors, Kylan Like, who's known Brian since the 9th grade and whose house Brian was visiting just before his arrest, says that being provocative is a hallmark of his personality.
When I first met him, he was very edgy, is the best way I can describe it. He loved to get a reaction out of people and say things that would make people have a double take. He wanted to go against the flow. His jokes were always in the realm of dark humor. Very rarely did he make jokes that weren't somehow relating to death or violence or destruction or breaking the law or just basically just humor that is considered dark humor. And I know a couple of people personally who just hated him because that's kind of how he is. You either think it's hilarious or you hate it. And that's the people who think it was hilarious was a small percentage of people that unfortunately and embarrassingly included myself. And my very best friend of high school, Emily, was someone who hated him. And, she's a bigger girl, and he would call her fat and call her pig and call anybody who looked like that things along the same line. Like, just spiteful, I guess. Just trying to, like I said, get a rise out of people.
Kylan Like is not the only one who noticed Brian's love of sick humor. While in a youth diversion program 2 years earlier, Brian asked the other teens if they enjoyed a snack known as crispy meat bites. He joked that the recipe involved running your cat or dog through a meat grinder and then frying them up. Despite Brian's predilection for dark humor, Kylan's mom tells investigators that she never worried about her daughter being friends with him.
He didn't seem scary to me at the time. He just seemed unusual, in the way that my nephew and other people I know that are on the spectrum are just a little unusual, not a lot of eye contact, things like that. But he never struck me as scary. Like I said, I actually let my daughter and her friends, not that I was in charge of her friends, but I let her sleep over at his house, like a month, 2 months, whenever New Year's. And his mom, as far as I know, she ran a daycare. So I thought, good with kids, whatever,
Okay.
Not only does Brian's mom run a daycare, she runs it out of her home. Upon discovering the severed head in her son's closet that afternoon, she had to scramble to get parents to pick up their children before calling police.
And I sent home all the children. I had a few little kids over, but I was watching, so I called their parents, and I said, it's been a family emergency. Please come pick up their children right away. They're safe. They're not hurt. Parents came. I hope everything's okay. And they took their kids home.
Back in the interrogation room, Brian goes into further nauseating detail about the post-mortem mutilation of Warren Barnes.
destroyed his eyes by stabbing them.
Okay.
And then I cut off his hands. I put those in plastic Ziploc bags. And then I cut off his right arm at this joint and at this joint. And then at this arm, I tried cutting it here, and then I tried cutting it here. But what happened was I accidentally broke his bone. This one, it was poking out. And so I left that one here, partially cut, dismembered here, bone sticking out. And then I left his body there. And then I took the head, put it in a leftover pizza box from the dinner a few nights ago. And then I took the hands, put them in the back, drove home, hid the hands and head in my room, cleaned the knife, threw away the garbage with the blood on it, and then put the blood stained, wasn't stained, it had splatters on it. I put it in the dish, in the washing machine.
What did you put in there?
I put the outfit I murdered him in the washing.
You were wearing, or?
Yeah, I was wearing.
Okay.
In a washing machine, put it on high speed so it would effectively remove the blood. Washed it twice.
You'll notice again that not only is Brian's level of detail remarkable and disturbing, he talks about the steps he took to avoid getting caught. These will undoubtedly be important elements to any eventual prosecution as it goes to establishing his state of mind.
I can back up just so I don't lose track of where my mind is. So you cut him open, did you cut his arms off, his hands off, all that before you went home?
Yeah, before I went home, I tossed the arm bits around. Like I took the right arm bit, threw it out, took the left arm bit, threw it out.
So it's somewhere around that bridge?
Yeah, but look in because I know crime scenes can be a very wide area.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to look in a 10-foot area. So like, this is a zoom in. So here's the road, and here's where my car was parked. His corpse is here.
The interview continues to get more and more bizarre. In addition to reliving the mutilation in full pantomime, Brian enthusiastically goes over the dimensions and location of the crime scene, as if he's a police lieutenant giving a briefing to his officers.
I hope I'm being cooperative.
Oh, you're doing great. So you could have just walked over here.
I could have. It's no use trying to deceive God.
So that's north, and you threw... What all did you throw while you were there? I mean, how many pieces am I looking for?
There are 2 pieces of arm. This section and this section, just in this general area. I couldn't say where they are.
Armed with information they've been fed from the interrogation, police officers descend on the area. There they find a scene that will no doubt haunt them for the rest of their lives.
It's right here. Yeah. Because there's an arm. Hey.
The female cop starts to laugh when she sees an arm. It's unfortunate that the family and the court will hear this.
There's an arm, there's another arm.
Okay, hold on. Do some pictures.
There's another one.
I don't have a clue.
This is like something out of TV.
Yeah. Discussion with the deputy chief about how these kids don't have any, right, here's a leg. That could be the upper arm or a leg.
Well, there's 3. There, and there.
Pieces down there. I mean, if we can get the lab out here, that would be the best thing.
Do forensics.
Have a little camp up there.
Holy hell.
As police officers less than half a mile away take measure of the bleak crime scene under the bridge, Detective Norcross probes more deeply into the whereabouts of the rest of Warren Barnes' remains.
You took, was it the head and the hands?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you put them in?
Well, there's a 3 rule for bodies. I like to call it the 3 rule.
Okay, tell me about that.
3 days, the body starts to stink. No, 3 hours, rigor mortis sets in. The body stiffens. 3 days, the body starts to stink because of decomposition. 3 weeks, the body is starting to seriously decompose.
Right.
3 months, the body is unrecognizable. 3 years, it turns into a skeleton.
And may I ask how you know that?
I've always had a fascination with forensics and with anatomy and physiology. That's something I made up. So that's something I don't want to sound like I'm inventing something. But that's why I coined the cerebral.
You kind of remember it that way.
Yeah.
That's your way of remembering
Is it accurate?
Well, somewhat. So,
This segment is fascinating for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the remarkable display of skill on the part of Detective Norcross, who makes Brian feel as though she's mesmerized by his account of the 3 rule. She gives him a moment of validation at the end, and Brian's satisfaction is obvious. His ego is stroked and he feels that he's earned the approval of the detectives.
yeah, so what did you have the head and the hand at your house?
The head I put, because it was starting to stink, I was planning on throwing the head and hands away. Not in the trash bag, not in the kitchen trash, but they were both in trash bags. The head was in a trash bag, I tied up the trash bag. Hands, I put in a trash bag as well. They were in Ziploc bags. And I was planning, do they sell empty paint buckets? I was planning to buy an empty paint bucket, put the head in it, seal it, and then I was going to throw it off in some dish.
Okay.
The hands I would throw in a different spot, wherever.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I have it right. The head is inside of a trash bag.
It was.
Well, where is it now?
In the kitchen sink. My parents searched through my room and they found the head and hands.
Okay, and so are the head and the hands in the kitchen sink now?
Last time I checked.
Okay, so they're in the kitchen sink now because your parents put them there.
But they were in my closet.
As of now, investigators have only found a head, hands, and several pieces of arm. That leaves the mystery of where the rest of Warren Barnes is.
What exact kind of trash bag?
White.
White, like a kitchen one, or what? Like
A kitchen one.
Okay, white kitchen.
That you put in a trash can.
Yeah. And then what about the hands? They were inside Ziplocs, you said.
Both both in a different trash bag.
Okay, the white kitchen trash bag.
Yes.
But now they're in the kitchen sink.
Yes.
And you talked about cutting, I used to be a meat cutter. I know it's not easy, just cut off hands.
Oh yeah, it was with the knife. I was just
Meat cutter, I know it's not.
Kitchen sink.
yes.
And you talked about cutting, I used to be a meat cutter. I know it's not easy, just cut off hands.
Oh yeah, it was with the knife. I was just
So did you practice on anything else?
No.
Or how did you know how to do it?
no, I just went along as a process. The bones, I just pressed the blade down and went sever them at the ligaments.
Okay. And how hard was it to do that? To get them actually?
Not particularly hard.
Not that hard.
I was just more frustrated that I broke this
Okay.
bone.
So if you hadn't got frustrated, what was your, I mean, it sounds like what you did, we know. Did you have a different plan? Why were you
The
cutting
original?
arms off?
Because I always wanted to know what it felt like to cut up someone.
Okay.
So just
So why did you stop? Where did you stop?
because the arms were just, that's it. And that's all I wanted to know was like cutting off a limb. And I'm just like, okay.
Again, the mind reels when confronted with the nonchalant attitude Brian has toward discussing the murder and dismemberment of a human being.
And you said you studied criminology and forensics and all that?
I not college study or school study. It's like a passing interest.
I understand. But what, were you worried about, like, leaving evidence behind or
Oh,
being caught?
Totally.
Tell me about that and what you did then.
Well, I was figuring the police don't, this is not to be taken offense, but police, they don't seem to care as much about high-risk individuals, homeless people, prostitutes, etc. So I was deliberately looking for someone who lived that type of life.
Okay.
And I found a homeless person, and the original goal was just leave him there. But I was worried about the fibers on the outfit I was wearing that would be on his clothes and stuff. So I deliberately messed up the clothes.
This is an outstanding amount of premeditation for a youth offender. It's a shocking amount for anyone, but particularly because of his age, his executive functioning is years from being developed, and yet he's thought so much of this through. It's chilling to think what he may have been capable of had he not been caught. Brian remains engaged, casual, and even jovial as he describes his mindset on the night of the murder. His detailed concerns about getting caught will make it very difficult for his lawyers to mount an effective insanity defense. According to Kylan Like's mother, Heather Gale, this isn't the first time that Brian talked about choosing a victim on the outskirts of society.
Anything else things you've heard from Kylan come to mind?
She told me that he had mentioned that he was going to kill a homeless person because nobody would miss them and he could get away with it.
Yet once in an interview, Kylan tells a different story.
He never talked to me about wanting to kill a homeless person specifically, but he definitely talked to me a lot about, killing. And I was actually surprised because I figured that if he was going to do something like this, that it would be on a larger scale. I thought he would, I don't want to sound vulgar, but I figured if he was going to snap, it would be like shooting up a store or something similar like that. And he had mentioned, not liking his neighbors, so I thought maybe something would happen there. So I was surprised that he had killed someone, but I was also surprised that it had only been one person.
So how long have you been planning or looking for someone to do this with before you found this guy?
About a year.
About a year?
No, 6 months.
Brian's internet search history adds an interesting element to this as he looked up homicidal thoughts every day and how to cope with murderous thoughts.
So you come close or seen somebody or chickened out or anything in the past?
No. I mean, I was looking for a deliberately secluded place like that one. I wouldn't just go up in Clifton and find someone walking down the street and stab them. No, that's too public. Everyone sees that.
Well, have you looked at the homeless places or anything in the past?
I have, yes. I'll go on night drives often, maybe once every 2 weeks. Now just peruse the streets.
So before this guy, how close have you come in the past?
Not at all.
I don't know, you just drive around and...
Yeah, look, just try and find
Is anybody interesting?
No.
In your mind thought of a plan?
Well, occasionally when you see girls walking down the street, I take a glance at them because it really is like Ed Kemper where half of me says, well, I'm quite inept with women. I'm being honest, I'm no Casanova. But half of me says, I want to take that girl home and make her feel nice. And the other half of me, it's just like what Ed said, is I want to see what her head looks like on a stick.
Brian is describing a mindset that's detestable, yet he delivers.
I think I know what to do now. 04414.
Delivers it with a smile and a laugh. His obvious excitement in describing both his mindset and the murder raises questions about his psychological history. As well, another internet search Brian made reveals that he may have considered other sickening plans as well, as he searched for how do people react to a home invasion. However grisly Brian's sense of humor might seem, it's again worth noting that it's a trait his friends are familiar with. One of Brian's friends, Patrick Rahor, spoke with police.
Our whole friend group was like really weird. We were like all of those. We're just a group of people like didn't really fit anywhere else and ended up like finding each other at different points throughout school. We were just all kind of weird together. And so like the off-filler stuff and like anything that like seemed weird, I just kind of like took for Brian being Brian and just kind of tried to accept it.
However, even his friend must admit that Brian was different.
Our friend group would joke about if there was one of us that would like be a killer, it would be him, but it was like meant as a joke and only as a joke. I don't think any of us actually thought that something like that would or could happen.
If his friends thought this, was there a chance that his parents did too?
Tell me about Brian. Does he have any kind of mental issues or disabilities? Why? You were told he had ADHD. Okay, so we put him on ADHD medicine. I think they get it during the summer or weekends only when he was in middle school. He started exhibiting antisocial behavior, just saying things to get kids riled up and thinking it was funny. And then when he switched to Fruita High School, he did okay in 9th grade, 10th grade. He got in a lot of trouble, a lot of behavior issues. 11th grade, we had a big meeting and they said, kids don't finish. So we put him in R5. We took him and did some testing for ADHD and whatnot through Division of Rehab. And the doctor had said, yes, he's ADHD. Yes, he's autistic. Yes, he's this. Oh, and there's some indications that he should get further testing because of potential psychosis. And I asked about referrals and called, and nobody in town would see him. Okay, well, he seems to be doing good. You know, he graduated high school. He works at Safeway, and he's been working there for a year in August. And he's there part-time. And you said he's not taking his medication, or is he on medications now? He's on ADHD medicine. Okay. That he takes before work on his part-time job, and he takes sertraline, which is an anti-anxiety, antidepressant. Okay. So he's been diagnosed.
And to the best of your knowledge, is he actually taking them? Like, do you watch him take them?
I don't watch him take them, but I have an alarm set, and every night at 10 p.m. I say, Brian, take your medicine. And he says, I know, I am. And as I've looked at his pill container, I mean, it's going, you know, seems to be going down. Okay. So I assumed he was taking it. Okay.
About, I'm thinking 3 years ago? I'm guessing, I don't know. Because we had him going to counseling, he was going to counseling, and he just thought about it, it just came across his head. It was just, but then I think everybody thinks about it, but I just want to remember one of the times when he was really lonely and that was an issue. You know, we were kind of concerned about that. He made jokes about making nooses or doing that and doing that. Okay. But I don't know, I just played it off as normal talk, but I'm like, you know, Brian, we wouldn't, you know, I didn't know the depth of the water. I don't understand. He's obviously sick. He's obviously very sick, because we've noticed weird things about him. Some days he gets cold. Just he looks at me and he has this cold look on his face.
Just like he's been so far, Brian makes no qualms about admitting his battles with mental health.
You say you have a major depressive disorder? I'm just curious what those are.
Well, actually, I have several. I have high-functioning Asperger's. I have ADHD and major depressive disorder.
Okay.
Major depressive, do you want to know what that last one is?
Yeah, I know what they are. I was curious, what the exact diagnosis was and who diagnosed them.
They tested me for autism for a formal diagnosis, like Asperger's, which is high-functioning autism.
Yep.
And they also said I was schizo something. That isn't me misremembering. They just said you're schizo something, whether that be schizophrenia, schizoaffective, schizotypal, or schizoid disorder. They said I had something that was schizo.
The detectives are once again trying to delve into Brian's psychology, attempting to prove that he knew right from wrong at the time of the murder. His search history adds another layer to his story as he looked up extreme paranoia, schizoid and paranoid personality disorder, and avoidant personality.
I was never formally diagnosed with anything like that.
Do you feel like you had that?
I don't know. Possible as hell. Self-diagnosing is foolish.
Yeah, but do you schizophrenia is pretty clear because people recognize they have a different personality in there.
I don't have any hallucinations.
Okay.
I had delusions, I guess.
Okay.
Like years ago, I thought I was obsessed with people staring at me.
Okay.
Like I felt people watching me from every window. The birds were looking at me, watching me.
Okay.
For greater purpose. That was a delusion, I suppose.
Right. But you don't have times where you feel like another personality is in your body?
No,
you remember all this.
That's dissociative identity disorder.
Right.
Schizophrenia is.
But you have multiple people talking to you at the same time, kind of a thing.
No one was talking to me.
Okay.
There's a very good reason they're asking these questions. Because Brian said he has some kind of schizo diagnosis, they're trying to determine if he committed the crime under some kind of command hallucination, which may mean he could be deemed not guilty by reason of insanity. However, Brian denies having voices in his head. As well, his search history goes far in showing exactly what he was thinking about in the lead up to the murder. One day before and again on the day of the murder, Brian pulled up Wikipedia articles for several notorious killers, including James Dale Ritchie, Joseph Christopher, and Andrea Yates. In the month leading up to the murder, he also looked up topics such as how do people react to being held at knife point, how deadly is a neck stab wound, and he read an article about the killing of a homeless man in Baton Rouge.
What do you think would happen if you got caught?
Well, I figured my mother would have confronted me about it, but no, she didn't even say it.
Do you know who the person was that you killed?
No. I took his wallet. I didn't look at it. I just picked it up, briefly scanned over it, and put it in my car. Apparently, it was Warren. My mom told me this before she found out that the missing person was Warren Brown, born in '63.
Brian doesn't seem particularly interested in knowing more about his victim, and the detectives turn Brian back to the subject of the evidence.
So we talked about the stuff there we're going to go look for. Your mom's off in the sink, apparently.
Yeah.
The knife is where?
My dad found it in the glove box. I don't know where it is.
What did the knife look like that you found in the...
You know when you buy like a 10-piece knife set, the biggest one in there?
Okay.
I think when we moved Terry into the daycare, we probably bought all new kitchens, and I think he just took it out of the kitchen. Because we found it in his car before. Brian, you don't need this. Dad, I do. I don't trust anybody.
Okay. You don't find any blood or anything on it. I cleaned it. All of his belongings, except for his wallet, are right here. And his head and his hands. His head and his hands are at the house. Any reason you were wearing a dark blue one-piece jumpsuit? You know the movie Halloween, Michael Myers? Mm-hmm. He wears one of those, and for Halloween last year, I bought that as a costume to find the mask in my room. Okay. And I just associated that piece of that article of clothing with violence. That's why I was wearing it that night. Yes.
As horrifying as all of this is, nothing they've heard so far can prepare investigators for the rest of the seismic revelations to come. First, however, detectives have a simple question for the killer sitting before them.
Have you ever done it before?
No.
Okay. You gotta ask, right?
Yeah.
How about animals? Have you practiced on anything?
Yes.
It's a pretty big step.
Tell us about that.
It was 2018 Halloween. A stray black cat had been coming around our house. This was before I moved into my mom's. This was at my dad's. And I was thinking about killing it.
The video is redacted in this part, but the transcript from the sheriff's office says that Brian told detectives that he herded the cat into a sleeping bag and beat it, strangled it, and snapped its neck. He then decapitated the cat, hid the body in a shoebox, and hid the head in a wine cork box. It seems clear that redacted in this part, but the transcript from the sheriff's office says that Brian told detectives that he herded the cat into a sleeping bag and beat it, strangled it, and snapped its neck. He then decapitated the cat, hid the body in a shoebox, and hid the head in a wine cork box. It seems clear that Brian has a sick interest in decapitation. There are chilling parallels between what he did to the cat and to Warren, including decapitation and keeping the heads in boxes. Both times he preyed on those he knew were vulnerable and that he believed no one would notice.
And then I disposed it in the trash and got away with it. Okay. That cat.
Did you keep him for a while like you did this guy, or?
I kept it for 3 days. Then it started to stink.
So you got the 3 days and it stinks?
Also because bacteria starts to float the body after a day to 3 days, so.
The story that Brian might have killed a cat is actually a widespread rumor in Grand Junction.
Did you ever hear about Brian, either from him or anybody else, about him killing a cat?
Yes, I remember hearing about it, but it honestly just sounded like made-up rumor, so I didn't really think anything about it.
Did you ever talk to him directly about it? Like ask him if it was true?
Might have. I don't really remember.
Do you ever remember him saying, yes, I did that, or no, I didn't? Anything like that? Okay. But you had heard rumors that possibly it happened, but never really got to the bottom of it?
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is not the only one to hear rumors of this type and ignore them, saying it was some kind of a sick joke.
I know that there was another girl in that class who told me that she lived near him in that neighborhood and that they were always missing cats, and she felt like he was stealing cats in the neighborhood.
And honestly, I don't remember if I found that out through him or through friends, but yeah, I definitely know about the cat.
Did you believe that, or did you think it was just Brian saying something outrageous?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I believed it, but that I didn't want to because I am a big animal lover, and that's just, I didn't want to see my friend in that kind of light. I remember my friends just talking about how messed up it was, and my friend Sean said that he knew the person whose cat it was, and he was super upset because the cat was like super friendly or whatever. But I don't think I ever heard it around Brian himself.
In a redacted portion of the interrogation video, Brian admits to finding a dead groundhog by the side of the road, which he skinned and attempted to make leather out of approximately a year before the murder.
It sounds like you killed a cat.
Well, actually, I was thinking of killing people during the cat, but I wasn't acting on it. But I started seriously thinking about killing people a year ago.
How about when you were 12? Did you think about killing
No.
people? So what in your life has changed, or what in your mind has changed to make you?
I don't know.
Was it like something all of a sudden one day you woke up and thought I'll kill someone, or was it a gradual?
It was gradual, I think.
So tell me about when those thoughts first started happening.
Well, in high school.
The interrogation is again redacted here, but Brian says, quote, "Called me weird, but I think everyone has had thoughts of shooting up their school. I suppose I just don't really like people.
But he wanted to read really bizarre things and things that we didn't have in the library. I remember he actually checked out a book about Son of Sam, and then the next quarter he wanted to read about the Columbine shootings. He was very obsessed with just that kind of darker stuff.
You mentioned a writing assignment. I can't remember anything specific just because it's been so long, but it does seem like there was at some point something he wrote, an idea about Columbine or something like that. And I can't remember really the specifics.
Okay.
It's more of a sense that he had an unhealthy fascination with school shootings.
Back in the interrogation, Brian tells the detectives that this isn't the first time his family has found something unsettling in his room.
Last year, my parents found a kit I had been assembling. It had hammers, shovels, knives, large zip ties, duct tape, saw. That was meant for hurting people. They found it though, and I had convinced them it was for other methods, for other things. And it was an ultimatum where if I didn't throw it away, all that, they would call the police. And then I would have been arrested on charges of conspiracy. That was last year, before Halloween.
So what made you put that kit together?
That was for nights like that.
So back then you were thinking about doing that?
Yes. So that was $100 to write.
In an interview, Brian's high school teacher recalls that his parents didn't seem overly interested in his disturbing behavior.
We weren't obviously the only class that was having issues with him, and I remember said that they had met with mom, and she kind of, I think they said, like, didn't really understand, like, what's the big deal sort of thing. Like, she wasn't really like, yeah, this is serious, or we need to get ahead of it. It sounded like they didn't get anywhere with her from what I remember.
Indeed, a friend of Brian's mom notes that Terry felt that school authorities were unfairly singling out her son.
Terry had like a binder, I remember, of information that she had conflicts with District 51.
Okay.
I know growing up as a kid, he was really teased in school, that they would call him like four-eyed, geek, loser, dork, all that stuff.
But the detectives in the interrogation room are more interested about his murderous intentions in the preceding months.
I'm really curious, when you talked about the hammer and the shovels and the knives and like the zip ties, I mean, what was kind of your plan then? That's a little bit different than you did this time.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the plan back then?
The plan was to go find, because there's no prostitutes in Grand Junction, I don't think. Have you ever had any sex crimes?
Yeah. There's not prostitutes like 5 of them standing along the side of the road, but there's prostitutes in Grand Junction.
Yeah, the plan was to go with one of them and have them come with me. And then the plan was to subdue them and tie them up and then torture her.
So what made you not go back to the same plan and get, if you kind of had that as a plan?
Would I have been caught?
Well, I don't know. My point is, if your folks, your mom found your stuff, right?
Yes.
And got rid of it. Why didn't you go back to that plan? Why change plans?
Too much risky. First time in a row, they'll be like, okay, that's really suspicious, but okay, we forgive you, don't do it again. Okay. Second time in a row, we're calling the police on you. I didn't want to do that again.
Okay, fair enough. And so they didn't call the police?
No, because they gave me an ultimatum, have them throw it all away, or
stuff, right? To the same plan.
And then,
no, my point, why didn't
in a row, they'll be like, okay, that's really suspicious. They'll be
Brian's
throw it all away.
Detective Norcross does an excellent job showing great interest in Brian's kits and his previous plans, all of which encourages the suspect to keep talking and helps build a strong case against him. At this point, the video is redacted, but according to the transcript, the detectives ask Brian if he ever expressed any of his dark thoughts to his parents. He tells them yes, but only disguised as jokes. For instance, he once said, quote, "Wouldn't it be funny if you sold a lipstick?" lipstick with mercury on it to those beauty pageant queens, and they got poisoned because of their pride. Brian was making these kinds of comments while in high school, as his teacher shares.
And then he would just say some bizarre things, like to get a rise out of class, kind of to try and get attention on him, like just say a racial slur, or, you know, just kind of be loud and obnoxious to try and get attention.
Were those outbursts like pretty random, just in the middle of class, or?
Well, like one was watching a video, I think it's about like Genghis Khan or something. He said something like, you know, an Asian racial slur. I think it was, oh, he got that, or something like that.
Okay.
Of course, the matter before investigators today isn't Brian's inappropriate humor, but his actions on the night of the murder, and the revelations from that night are far from over. Brian finally reveals the twisted true story behind his mishap with his car and the river 2 nights ago.
What were you doing down here, bud? Well, I felt like I needed to get out, and I figured, why not park here and just relax a little bit? Relax and think.
As it turns out, Brian's road trip to the Blue Heron boat ramp had absolutely nothing to do with relaxation. He explains to the detectives that after he murdered Warren Barnes, he returned home to try and sleep.
But I was worried that because there was a hole in my gloves right here, I was worried that they would be able to obtain a partial print. So I figured, why not go all the way? I drove back in a different outfit, picked up his body, surprisingly heavy, put it in my trunk, and drove to the Blue Heron drop-off station. I parked, so it's like this, right? So let's say this is the ground. The ramp is quite steep, and you need to have four-wheel drive to pull out of it. Okay. And my car didn't. So I pulled in. I thought that I could drive out, because I put it in reverse, A, so that it's easier to pull the body out, and B, because the back tires would provide propulsion to push up. Right. And I open the trunk, I take his body out, I put it in the water, and because I don't want fingerprints on a body, so I just try moving it with my shoes. That works successfully. He goes out some part in the river and floats off. Okay. God knows where he is now. Maybe a he. He's dead. Still a he. Okay, yeah. God knows where he is now. I think my guess was that it would be discovered this morning or next morning, so keep an eye out for any river-related activity. Okay. To inevitably drive out.
Yeah.
My car didn't come out.
From Blue Heron.
Yeah, from Blue Heron. Yeah. My car was stuck. I tried putting it full throttle. Yeah. That doesn't work. My car doesn't have four-wheel drive. Stupid me. Okay. And so then I tried putting it in low gear. I'm trying everything with this. Right. And it still doesn't come out. And then it slides into the river. Oh! My car slides into the river, me inside. And so I'm there in a car quickly being flooded with water. Okay. It is the middle of February. It's cold. At night. Yeah. In the river that's almost freezing. Yes. I'm drenched. I almost died. So I'm able to climb out. I don't see the body, so I assume it's traveled a bit. Okay. I come up, and I'm sitting there. I need to act fast or else I'll die of hypothermia. I'm panicking a bit at this point. I'm going to be like, this is what I'm going to be remembered for, dying of hypothermia and a botched attempt at hiding a body. And I'm just like...
Once again, we see Brian in good spirits while sharing what could pass as an amusing anecdote if it were not for the horrifying truth behind what he's describing. His story also shows that he has a preoccupation with how he'll be remembered.
And what did you tell your parents? I mean, you obviously, got to tell them something. The car's in the river.
Yeah. So what I say is, I feel like I need to get out. I often do. I feel like I need to get out. Hear my thoughts. Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely.
So I'd say that I drive down to the Blue Heron Point and just park and just turn off the car and think. And I tell them that I'm stupid and I park too low and that my car slides in the river.
Okay. Did they believe you?
Yes. And then the police came. I didn't do a breathalyzer test because I wasn't drinking.
Was it the police or the sheriff that came?
It was the police.
Okay.
In addition to the rest of the damning evidence Brian relays to the detectives, he now reveals that he was not intoxicated on the night of the murder, closing off another potential defense in court.
However, what immediately caught the police's attention is blood from the body was on the reverse bumper. I forgot to wipe it off. And I was so panicked that I wasn't thinking. And so when they pull it out, they immediately see blood on the bumper. And they're all thinking, we really like to get in this trunk. Fools. There is nothing in the trunk.
Okay. And that happened this morning?
No, they noticed it after I'd been sent home at 3 a.m.
Okay.
They noticed the blood, but yeah, this morning they noticed more blood on the door handle, the other door handle, passenger one, and also the multi-layered gloves in the car. I took them out, and obviously my car went murdered before I was able to throw them away.
Sure. So did the cops talk to you guys about that this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Did the cops from the police department, did they talk to you about that this morning?
No, I was not contacted.
Oh.
Brian's car was pulled out of the river in the early morning hours of February 28th, and this interrogation takes place the next day.
All they were planning to do with me today is get my insurance information.
Sure.
And they were still curious about the blood.
Did they ask you about that?
No, because they did not notice it while I was still there.
So when you say they were curious about the blood, how do you know that they were curious?
Because my parents told me.
Oh.
They saw the blood too, and they were curious, but I said, I don't know where the blood came from. They thought maybe it was this cut, but obviously a cut doesn't produce that much blood. And they said maybe it was the recovering abscess under my arm, but that's scabbed up. So they didn't know what to believe this day because it's blood, it's sticky, it's sinewy, but I can't name a source. So they were just a tiny bit curious.
Yeah.
Not tiny bit, they were curious.
Yeah.
This is another spot of his oddly placed laughter, showing that he really enjoys talking about the sick details. However, his position of superiority didn't last long. Police do indeed find more blood in and on the car, confirming Brian's tale.
And I was worried about just how long it would take to find him, because it's a somewhat traveled road. Police have a nose for that type of thing. They're trained to be able to identify the smell of a corpse. And obviously that was botched.
The true story of what happened at the boat ramp will come as news to his friend Kylan Like, with whom Brian shared a very different account. First, though, on the very same night that he dumped Warren's body into the river, Brian messaged a group on Discord, which Kylan was... part of. He wrote, So, I totaled my car. It's in the river. One of his friends replied, "What? You okay?" Brian wrote back, "Yeah, I okay. My car aren't, though."
So I said, "Hey, are you okay? I don't have Discord RN, but I heard the news." And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Almost died, LOL. Sorry for the late response. My phone was off." I said, "It's okay. What happened?" He said, "I was out driving, needed to clear my thoughts, so I park at the boat ramp, drop off at the river, but my dump parks on the dirt and mud ramp, so when I try and leave, it gets stuck. I don't have my phone on me because it's dead. I try shimmying it, low gearing it, nothing works. Then it slides into the river, me inside. I'm able to get out, drenched in cold water, 1 a.m. I responded, "Oh my god." He said, "It's freezing out in February at night. I know I'll die of hypothermia if I don't act fast, so I make my way onto the road and wait for a car that takes 5 minutes. I flag him down, and the Samaritans help me by letting me use their phone to call my parents and to heat up in their car. I said, "Jesus Christ, dude." He said, "They arrive, the police are called, and we collectively decide to wait until tomorrow to tow it out. So in summary, I nearly died and am out of a car. It was towed out this morning, but I'm fine. Sorry for the wall of text. That was my Saturday night."
The Samaritans Brian mentioned are Durwood Pfeiffer and his grandson Kellen, who stopped to help him that night. In an interview, Kellen describes Brian's behavior at the boat ramp.
During the encounter, before his family got there, he kept kind of pacing around and saying, "I'm effed," expletive, and tried to calm down a little bit because I thought he was kind of concerned about his family finding out he crashed his car in the river or something. And I was like, "Hey, it's going to be okay," And it seemed to calm down a little bit, but I just remember it was a little off-putting how he just kept on pacing, saying, "I'm effed, I'm effed, I'm effed," this over and over and over again, so...
With his attempts to dispose of the body and cover his tracks, Brian is showing clearly that he knows right from wrong. His mindset is further demonstrated by his search history on the day after the murder, when he looked up how to wipe data from Android phone. Does a river wash away evidence? How to dispose of organic refuse. His history also contains numerous searches for information on serial killers, a subject Brian has great interest in.
I read books. I have a book on forensics.
Okay. Did you read the book, the Ted Bundy book?
No, it was on the internet.
Yeah, okay. All right. And Pete has studied him too. Yeah, so...
Crazy.
You know who had...
Studied him too. Yeah, so...
Crazy.
You know who had...
Ed Gein?
No, Ed in California. Big Ed.
Ed Kemper.
Yeah. Studied him?
I know of him. He was a Goliath. He was 6'9", 300 pounds.
So can I ask you a question? Almost all those people did this for some sort of, whether they had sex with the body or it was some sexual gratification in their mind?
Criminology, there's different types of... I'm not a serial killer by no means. But with serial killers, there's different types of them. There's organized, disorganized, visionary, missionary.
I'm just wondering what gets you excited about doing it?
Well, I'm not really sexually attracted to it.
Okay. I was just asking.
Brian's statement that he found no attraction to the concept of murder is doubtful given his excitement at the chance to relive the killing by telling the officers every little detail of the crime. Still, the detectives are determined to figure out the why behind Brian's gruesome actions.
So, I'm curious about the cutting him up, taking parts of him home. Have you ever thought about, it sounds like you've had like Ted Bundy, sex type stuff. Ed Kemper just kill people because you want to kill somebody, plus the sex stuff. How about Jeffrey Dahmer?
It wasn't really inspired by it. It was just more...
I'm just trying to think of all the people like...
These people can do it, so can I.
Brian's claim that he's not inspired by serial killers is somewhat undermined by that last remark. The following part of the video is redacted, but we know from the transcript that Brian tells the detectives that his nickname in high school was Jeffrey Dahmer. He says he had a reputation that he would become a serial killer.
When we would do different group activities, sometimes we would have like different personas or whatever. And he'd be like, "I'll be Jeffrey." I'm like, "No, you're not." I do remember that specifically. He was very obsessed with Jeffrey Dahmer, and is it Dylan Klebold, the Columbine shooter, was obsessed with him. I remember actually talking to my mom and saying, "Take this name to your prayer group." I mean, and I remember talking to another teacher and saying, "If any kid's going to shoot at Fruit of Monument, it's this kid."
In an interview, Brian's high school friend Patrick Rahor recalls a Halloween party they both attended.
Do you remember a costume that he wore?
Yeah, he wore a Jeffrey Dahmer costume.
Okay. And I heard he was Mike Myers one year. Was that he was actually Jeffrey Dahmer? Does that?
I might have been mixing up the years because we had a couple of Christmas parties, but Halloween parties. But yeah, I think he like dressed up as a serial killer a couple times.
When he was, I guess, Jeffrey Dahmer, how did that look? I guess how did his costume look?
I mean, it was like jeans, a plaid shirt, and like big glasses, which honestly was like not too entirely different from what he normally wore.
His obsession with crime, serial killers, and all things morbid was something that his parents had noticed too.
A lot of separation on crime and crime scenes. And so he was talking about going into the military in the fall, and when he gets out, having your job. And so I had purchased online a crime scene investigation book for him. You know, it's like ones that you probably read it when you first started out in college. And so I gave that to him, and I was like, so here, Brian, let's channel that curiosity into something positive that you can affect a good change in the world. And he's like, yeah, that's my plan, Mom. I'm not going to say always had a fascination. I'm going to say in the last few years.
And is it like shows that he watches or like tries to do things just to create a scene, you know what I mean? Like whether it's like animal stuff or nothing.
No,
like
he
that.
loves our dogs. I mean, he's very affectionate with our animals. And, he would watch, like just last week, he watched Silence of the Lambs. But I was like, well, he's 19, what should
We probably all watched it.
I watched it. It doesn't make me a serial killer, Right. And he watched The Zodiac Killer over the summer a couple of times.
Brian's affinity for Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't the only warning sign observed by his teachers.
Like the first week of school, we had a meeting with all of his teachers and his case manager, expressing the concerns that they had with him and also explaining some of his behavioral issues.
Did anybody express that they had concerns he could be a serious safety issue or anything like that?
Yes, I believe so. We were to keep a very close eye on him, and it's certainly very apparent early on that he was a very troubled person.
In the 2019 school year, one of Brian's teachers found a notebook filled with a number of disturbing elements.
So I remember, I don't even remember who found, there was like a notebook, I don't know if it was part of a notebook check, my student teacher, another student, or somehow it got brought. We had a meeting with Officer Bomar and the administration out at Fruita just because it had some obviously concerning stuff talking about like serial killer statistics and stuff. Like he seemed to be kind of enamored with that. So that was kind of and they asked us, did we think he was like a threat to us or other students? And me and my student teacher didn't feel like he was going to do any harm to anyone on the school.
So famous serial killers, some information about
kill counts and just stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, that's not entirely normal.
The disturbing contents of the book discussed by Brian's teacher far exceed his initial portrayal. Within its pages lie numerous troubling entries detailing Brian's fixation on serial killers and other disturbing topics. Among these, Brian has devised his own cryptic code or alphabet. Furthermore, Brian's brief profiles of his favorite killers paint a grim picture of his unhealthy obsession with destruction and depravity. Additionally, he outlined plans for taking lives and holding strong opinions about his own purpose and actions. The book was also filled with quotes about his beliefs in neutral evil. One such quote read, "A neutral evil villain does whatever she can to get away with. She's out for herself, pure and simple. She sheds no tears for those she kills, whether for profit, sports, or convenience." This is far from the only warning sign that emerged during his time at school. In December of 2018, Brian was arrested on assault charges when he hit another student with a homemade mace.
When I had kids give speeches, I always told them to do an attention getter. And so it was the day of his speech, and he wanted to go first. And he pulled out this Indiana Jones-like whip that he fashioned out of masking tape. So to start the speech, he kept hitting the podium. Of course, everyone looked, and then he gave his speech. Then later that day, he ended up whipping one of our side-by-side developmentally disabled students at the bus stop.
In early 2019, he was suspended after intentionally causing a student with PTSD to suffer a panic attack. In a subsequent meeting, school administrators conclude that Brian has a high potential for violence and presents a high risk for the school. However, despite being apprehended for his and presents a a high risk for the school. However, despite being apprehended for his behavior and his several run-ins with the management at school, Brian's mother, Terry Cohey, has a strikingly different opinion about the incidents.
When you talked about the school stuff and having lots of issues, what were the issues that they were having that made other kiddos not feel safe? He would make jokes that were not appropriate. He got suspended a few times, like for behavior that wasn't acceptable. Like this one girl that he knows very well, he knows that she has a lot of issues and that loud noises frighten her. And so, one of his school suspensions was when he came up to her in the hallway and clapped really loud next to her, knowing that it would put her in a panic. And she cried, and we were like, yep, nope, you knew that would upset her, and you did it anyway. And he got suspended for weapons, but there was another boy who brought in nunchucks to school on the school bus. And Brian was like, wow, cool. And I think this was in 11th grade. And so Brian was like, I think Brian had given out some candy to some kids on the bus. And so Brian was like, can I check those out? He's like, I'll bring you in so you could give me some candy. So Brian gave the kid candy, and the next day the kid comes on the bus with 2 sets of nunchucks. One are glass, and the other one, I guess they're like rubber. I don't know. I never actually saw them. He's like, I know I can't take the glass ones because I'd be in trouble for that. So he took the rubber ones and he put them in his backpack. I don't know if it was in his backpack or in his jacket. There was some differentiating stories. Okay. So the teacher saw them and they said, what's that, Brian? And he was like, nothing. And so Papa Omar, he was like, we have a prohibited weapon on school grounds. And I'm like, okay, well, what about the other kid that brought them in? And they said, that kid doesn't have the behavior issues that Brian has. And I'm like, oh, so you're punishing Brian because he has behavior issues. I see. So Brian went through probation and he completed it successfully.
In fact, his father, Brian Cohey Sr., believed that his son was incapable of such violence.
He's got friends he hangs around with, respectable friends. Not friends that would ever, not those kind of friends.
Sure.
Clean, good friends.
Okay.
The worst they have is they play video games. They drink too much Pepsi. So we're thinking we're doing good. Our kids are both doing good. They're okay at school. They don't drink or smoke. So I didn't really have no warnings that this was going to happen. No. He may say a cuss word once in a while. Okay. But no, he's never hit anybody ever. Okay. He got in trouble for throwing a tape ball at school 3 or 4 years ago. Okay. And I think they wrote him up for it because it hit somebody. But the football players can nail like jazz with a football. But Brian, he got in trouble for that. He's never hit anybody. He's just like his dad. I mean, I've never been in a fight, man. I just saw he's going to be a spin-off of me because he's non-violent, but he's not. I don't know what's going on now.
But Brian often resorted to social media as an outlet to share his ideas. His dark thoughts were further reinforced by his posts on various
What just happened?
his social media accounts, pictures, and comments about his beliefs and mental health. His comments on Reddit were often on posts depicting mutilations and injuries. In an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, Brian wrote, I'm a 17-year-old nobody who is failing his classes. When someone posted asking about him, Brian answered, I have a counselor, but he assigned me to someone else because I was beyond his skill set. I'm also going to get a neuropsychological evaluation because of my irresponsibility. I can't really use any of my friends for support because they'd make fun of me.
Then we did have that meeting with the SRO, and Jeremy and I went in there and we briefed him on it, and I reiterated to him, I was like, this kid is really going to need some help in counseling right now. He's like, all the flags are up.
In fact, even the Samaritan who helped him at the boat ramp on the evening he was dumping Warren's body, Kellen Pfeiffer, was at school with him and had a few things to say about Brian's behavior.
I remember my friends kind of complained, and one of my friends, Isaac, just did not like being in the same bus as him. He found him very obnoxious. And he complained about him a few times to me. I never really took too much notice at the time. And he was like, dude, this kid won't shut up on the bus. And he says the most inappropriate stuff. And I'm just like, yeah. And he was like, I just hate the kid. And I never really, like I said, took much of a note. Because it was kind of like at that point, like, oh yeah, people are like that. You know, some people are just annoying.
So, given your, what you've been thinking about it, all the other things people didn't thought you wanted to be a serial killer?
Only if it brought me fame. For a while, I was willing to do anything, good or bad. That was years ago in school. I was willing to do anything, whether it be good or bad, just to gain notoriety, fame, influence.
Brian's comments about fame hinted a possible motive, but we still don't know the ultimate reason behind his horrific actions. In the hopes of drawing that reason out of him, detectives now take him one more time through the story of the gruesome killing. And this time, we get details that are even more monstrous than what we've learned thus far.
Did he see you?
No, he was not woken up until I pulled the sheets back.
I know this is going to be real fast. You pulled the sheets back.
And
before you stabbed him, did he see you?
No. And I pulled the sheets back, I get on him, like a knee, and then stab him, and he wakes up. He's, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah.
And I think you stabbed him anywhere besides the, I know you said the neck a lot of times. How many times do you think? Did you count them?
No. I was going until he...
How many times do you think? Did you count them?
No. I was going until he stopped.
Okay, how many? Just your best idea how many times?
30 or 40.
Okay. You said the neck. Besides cutting his arms off.
Well, actually, it was a general assault. I was mainly targeting his neck because that's the most vulnerable area. I was stabbing his head, anywhere in that general area. I stabbed his head multiple times.
How about his chest, his stomach?
His chest, I stabbed once through the ribs.
Which hand were you using?
Right hand. It was his right ribs, and I just went... I sliced open his belly, carved up his leg. Not like I made several slices at his leg.
Why did you do that?
I was just doing everything I thought of at the moment. Then I cut off his head. I gave him a Glasgow smile.
What's that?
A Joker smile.
Why were you doing that?
I suppose it was a frenzy. I was just doing everything I thought of at the moment. Then I cut off his head. I gave him a Glasgow smile.
What's that?
A Joker smile.
Why were you doing that?
I suppose it was a frenzy. I was so excited, so rushed up on adrenaline and everything. It was just, woo! And I paused, and he said, why are you doing this? And I said, I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Brian has used very little vulgar language up to this point in the conversation. Between that and the exactness of his quote, it's easy to believe that this is an accurate recollection.
So let's talk about before you were sure he was dead. Where else did you stab him before he was dead?
Nowhere but the head and neck.
Okay. When did you stab him in the chest?
After he perished.
Okay, and how did you know he perished?
He let out a final gasp.
Okay.
And he wasn't fighting later on. He was losing too much energy, blood loss. Okay. And he just finally gasped, and I needed to make sure, peace of mind, so I decapitated him, partially as for the hell of it.
So let's try to go step by step. You said you stabbed him in the neck and the head while he was alive.
Yes, I paused. We had a conversation where he said, why are you doing this? And I said, I felt like doing this for a long time. I continued. He died, deceased, whatever you want to call it. And then I stabbed his ribs, opened up his belly, sliced his leg multiple times.
Okay.
De-robed him, and then decapitated him, removed his hands, his joints.
Did you derobe him before or after you opened the belly?
after I opened his belly.
So you cut through his clothes to open it?
No, I lifted up his shirt and just...
Okay. Which way did you go? Like a deer this way or like this way?
No, this way across his belly.
Okay.
If what Brian has admitted to so far has not put a sick feeling in your stomach, the gory details to come will surely do so.
You didn't see his heart or anything?
No, he was very thin. I thought about taking out...
What else do you think you saw?
What do I think?
Internally, what did you see?
I saw his liver, his large and small intestine, and that's it. Some of it was yellow. I was thinking about taking out his heart. I was thinking about crushing the ribs and disemboweling him entirely.
Okay. Did you disembowel him at all, or just cut him open?
I cut him open, but his organs spilled out by themselves when I was dumping him.
Anything else? Did you take anything besides his head, like anything internally?
No.
And how did you know it was his liver? I mean, you ever go hunting, or how do you know it's somebody's liver when you open them up?
It's dark, purple, brownish.
Okay.
It's large up here. I just knew it was liver. I've taken anatomy and physiology, so I knew it was his liver.
That makes sense. I was just curious if you've ever seen one before, you're just guessing, or how you know?
I've seen some.
These nauseating details are quickly followed by another shocking piece of information about the night in question.
Did you take any pictures that night?
Yes, but I deleted them entirely.
Where did you take pictures?
After I killed him, I took a picture of him, his hands, but I deleted all those because those are evidence.
Okay.
I don't know if you can find them, but...
When you say you deleted them entirely, that's an interesting statement. What do you mean by that?
I removed them from my phone, deleted the pictures.
Okay.
With some assistance from the U.S. Secret Service, investigators are able to extract the deleted photos from Brian's phone. Nonetheless, Brian's care in deleting the pictures once again show that he was highly interested in covering his tracks, showing us everything we need to know about his state of mind in the wake of this awful murder.
Did you tell anybody about what you did before today?
No, I haven't told anyone that I committed murder.
Yet that very morning, Brian texted his friend Kylan Like, asking if he can come over to talk. Once at the house, Brian concocted a story that Kylan's husband, James Bailey, thought was ridiculous.
What I remember, he came over,
James Bailey, he thought was ridiculous.
What I remember, he came over, he was acting super weird, and he was like, I gotta tell you guys something. I think the police are trying to frame me for a murder. I found a body, I was like messing with it, and I got my car stuck in the river, and I had wiped blood that I had on my hand onto the car, and the tow truck guy saw it, and like, I think that they're gonna try to frame me. I thought that, like I said, at most he had found one and was just trying to be edgy because he found one or something like that, or even to the point where he could have just been making it all up just because, again, I didn't know him personally.
I was planning to maybe keep a finger.
You haven't got that far yet.
No.
Line finger.
That's small. Not that much space. It won't smell that much.
Makes sense.
Easy to keep.
Brian has provided the detectives with everything they could possibly want to know about the murder. He's detailed the killing not once, but twice, and he's even revealed stomach-churning details about the disposal of the body. The one question that remains, however, is an enormous one. Why? And Brian's reason why is perhaps the most twisted aspect of all.
You know, Brian, I have to ask, a lot of people that we have talked with,
they're silent.
Wow, or they're just not as well spoken as you are, to be honest with you. You're very articulate.
I think I'm bad with words.
No, I actually think you're really articulate. And you talked about you were just kind of in a bad space that night.
It was, yes.
Okay. Why were you in a bad space?
I didn't take my medicine, and plus for years I was wondering what murder would feel like, because read Ted Bundy and the Zodiac, they all say murder is the best feeling in the world. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. So for some time I had been wondering when it would happen. I always knew I would be in this building, whether it was as a criminal or a police officer.
As shocking as it is that Brian's motivation comes down to a simple matter of sick curiosity, his last remark is almost more unbelievable. As mundane and evil as Brian's motive may seem, it's not one he made any attempt to hide. Even as he first talked to police in front of his house, the young killer was fully upfront about his curiosity.
Like, for real human head and hands?
Yes.
From?
That fellow who went missing recently.
Which fellow was that?
Warren Brown.
Warren Brown? When did he go missing?
The night of the 27th.
Okay, and how did you end up with him?
I murdered him.
With what?
A knife.
Why would you have done that?
I've always wondered what murder felt like.
Brian's teachers were all asked an identical question.
When Brian was arrested, were you surprised to hear that?
No, I was not at all.
I remember when I saw the story on the news, and you're like, that name sounds so familiar, and you're like, I guess I wasn't surprised, if that makes sense.
I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I know you can't really go off gut feelings, but I just always felt uneasy around Brian. Like there was, and just like he needed much more help than we could offer him in a public school setting. And so when I saw that, I hated to see it. I wasn't necessarily surprised that his path could have led to that point.
Were you surprised to hear about what happened on the news?
No, I wasn't. I was more let down by the system because, like, we had called it out that he needed help, like, with all those kind of flags were going off, and it still happened.
Back in the interrogation, the detectives try to find out if Brian's curiosity was satisfied by the murder.
So, to see what it felt like, what did it feel like?
It was intense. It was a rush of adrenaline. My whole body was shaking. Not like out of fear. It was like... It wasn't fear. It was just pure, what's the word, excitement, I suppose. Not excitement as in joy, just excitement as in increased heartbeat, sweating, that type of thing.
Like an adrenaline jump?
Yeah. Although I wasn't breaking a sweat killing the guy. It was quite easy.
Well, did you enjoy it or not enjoy it?
Did I enjoy it? I don't know. Sort of neutral of the whole thing. I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't hate it. If I go back tonight, I wouldn't have done it, knowing what it felt like, knowing how this will all turn out. I wouldn't have done it.
What did you think it was going to feel like?
I thought it would be the best feeling in the world.
You said you didn't feel much of anything.
Excitement.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
But other than that, no.
Well, let us step out and figure out where we're going next, okay?
Okay.
The interrogation is over, and Brian seems highly satisfied with how he's cooperated with the detectives. He's enjoyed every minute of this conversation, and it seems that he at least partially achieved what he set out to do. He seems to see himself in the same league as infamous killers such as Ted Bundy. Brian may be done talking on camera, but he still has one last comment to make. According to Detective Berg's official report, when he walked Brian to the booking department, Brian smiled and said, "I feel like Hannibal Lecter right now." Brian Cohey Jr. pled not guilty by reason of insanity in January 2022. This plea triggered a psychological evaluation. Noting the matter-of-fact way he presented the details of the murder, the doctors asked him how he felt about the killing in retrospect. Brian said, quote, "Yeah, it's just kind of a thing that happened. It sucks, but it happened." When asked what about it sucks, Brian mentioned that he was now locked up, couldn't see his friends, and emphasized that he really missed video games and the internet. He did not, however, express any remorse for the victim.
So I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know how we got to get some kind of advice or find out what to do. Or if she has her own business here, and I have my own business, and I carry the same man's name as my son.
Right.
And now it's going to be all over the paper. Brian Cohey killed somebody. Right now we can't do anything.
Well,
we can't go anywhere. I'm not working anymore. She can't have any more kids anymore. Everything's over. It's all done now. It's over. Our lives are totally over.
A jury ultimately rejected the insanity defense and found Brian Cohey Jr. guilty on 1 count of evidence tampering, 2 counts of tampering with a deceased human body, and 1 count of murder in the first degree.
Because, Murray going to jail for 15 years probably.
Contrary to Brian's estimations, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He's currently serving out his sentence at Buena Vista Correctional Complex in Colorado Springs. Monique Lanati reflected on how she would want her friend to be remembered.
If I had to say one word about Warren, he was amazing.
A permanent metal art memorial was installed next to Monique's bridal downtown, carefully crafted to reflect Warren Barnes' favorite pastime, reading books.
The first generation of Pokemon games introduced players to the original 151.
She felt like...
It's right here. Yeah, because there's an arm. There's an arm, there's another arm, there's another one.
Parents have some concerns of some...
Sucks, man. YouTube sucks. Yeah, I don't know, this one might be good. I don't know if I want to listen to it on stream, but it's also 3:42 a.m.
Live the schools around here.
Oh God, I'm just a rotten sack of shit. I'm so sorry.
In Aberdeen, Washington, a city councilman known for his tough-on-crime stance and commitment to ridding the streets of dangerous criminals shocks the public when he's accused of committing an unthinkable and heinous crime.
So Riley, is there truth to what you're saying?
The following footage has never been seen before. Please note that this report is based on police records, and all persons charged with a crime are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. 39-year-old Riley Carter began his campaign for city council in early 2023, promising an aggressive approach to cleaning up the city of Aberdeen. In January of 2024, he began serving as an elected official. However, on July 30th, 2024, a jaw-dropping accusation by his stepdaughter sends police on a search to arrest him, sending shockwaves through the community.
Walk in, just so you're aware of everything we have is audio being recorded. We got these fancy body cameras now.
After police locate him walking alone down a residential street, he's led in handcuffs into a small interrogation room by a detective who's determined to find out if there's any truth to the horrifying claims. Shockingly, it was his own wife, Maya, who initially confronted him about the disturbing truth his stepdaughter revealed.
I started freaking out on him, like, how could you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Kind of a thing. And he was just really calm and said, no, I didn't do this. And I hung up, and then he just took off. I guess he just left.
Did he say anything to you about it?
He just said that he didn't do it. He swears up and down he didn't do it.
Due to his status as a city councilman, the Aberdeen Police Department requested the investigation to be handled by the Grays Harbor Sheriff's Office in an effort to avoid a conflict of interest. After reading his Miranda rights, the interrogation begins, but Riley has yet to realize the source of the allegations. Riley explains he had a typical morning, but everything changed when Maya arrived home.
And then I heard the front door open and shut. So I come out, and I have this, and she has by the hand, and then she's walking out the door, and I asked, well, what's going on?
When Maya left with no response, he called her cell phone for an explanation. She accused him of committing an unthinkable act and hung up the phone. However, as Maya explains, their conversation continued over Facebook Messenger. When she realized she had no tangible evidence of his crimes, she decided to take a risk.
And I bluffed and said, I have you on camera, just seeing if that would incite anything out of him, and he just stopped responding to me at that point.
As Riley explains, Maya's anger over the situation was visceral, and he was left with a chilling command.
I go down to the basement, and she told me, so I did set up the rope. I thought about it. I really did. Because I'm done, man. I'm done. I am just done. I'm maxed out. I am maxed out. Everything that we have gone through in life, everything, and now this. And it doesn't matter because being on city council, everybody knows now, that's over now. And we were right there, man. Everybody was amped up. We were going to change some things and everything, and now that's gone. It's gone. It's all gone.
June 20.
Maybe. I guess this game is just really long. We still have a lot after this, apparently.
4th, just 1 month prior, Riley posted a video to his Facebook page in an attempt to shed a light on criminal activity in his neighborhood. These videos will have an eerie relevance later when the exact allegations are revealed.
Buddy, how are you? We're out driving around, got the babies to sleep. It's just one of those days, I guess. Anyways, I thought it'd be a good idea, maybe take you guys along with me, and we'll go drive around downtown. And we'll just go look at things, and maybe I can talk about things, you know, that I'd like to see different, or things to be improved on, or whatever it may be. But, just gonna keep it fun, keep it relaxed, and be myself. All right, here we go. So one thing I want to note on is how close sex offenders live to schools around here, how close they are to bus stops, how easy it is for them to just have instant access to anyone or anybody's kids here, you know, in each of these neighborhoods. Sorry, I had to hit my brakes there because looked like a tweaker came shooting out of the alley and almost got in front of my car. Which is something, you know, that really needs to be addressed, okay? All right, so I know one place a lot of people want to see is the camp underneath the bridge. I will state, however, I have my baby girls with me, so I'm not going to take them down there just because people know who I am around here. And the last thing I would want is a rock to fly through my window and hit one of my daughters, because the way this state works, I could see me going to prison because somebody hit my daughter with a rock and I beat that person to death. I mean, that's just, come on. Wouldn't you do that for your own kids?
Despite his apparent determination to do whatever it takes to protect his children, as it turns out, Riley's shocking secret was revealed by his own 11-year-old stepdaughter, whose name has been redacted from the interview to protect her identity.
So, statements weren't made to initially. She told her counselor today that they were talking about something different and broke down crying and said she didn't want to talk about it.
In a recorded interview with his stepdaughter's therapist, she explains what happened earlier this morning, when it quickly became clear that something was horribly wrong.
So we had an appointment at 2 o'clock, and she'd been displaying some behaviors and had reported 2 weeks prior that was mean to her. So we were going to talk more about it today. She said she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to say it out loud.
In an effort to help the child, she suggested writing it down. However, the disturbing words she wrote on the page left the counselor in shock.
When she wrote that down, like, can you tell me about like how, like what her emotions look like and how she was acting?
So before she wrote it down, when she said she didn't want to say it out loud, she started just staring down at the ground. She was like stone cold. You could tell she was checking out, and she was kind of fidgeting her hands. And I've been her therapist for probably a little bit over 2 years, and she's never acted like that.
So that was out of the norm?
That is completely out of the norm. Her facial expression looked as if she was scared, like fear. And then she wrote it down, and then she kind of had this look of, oh no, or I'm in trouble, or something.
The haunting words written by the child will later be revealed. For now, in an attempt to understand her claims, investigators begin to dig into their familial relationship.
So can you talk about what your relationship is with and how long you've been in her life?
And since she was 4, I think she's a great kid. She's, I don't know how to explain it. Always just outgoing, but kind of keeps to herself.
Unfortunate.
Good kid.
Mm-hmm. And so was that a hard role to step into with her being that young, or?
Yes and no. I always kept in the back of my head that there's going to be a time when she gets to know her real dad, and so that's a line that needs to be respected. Mm-hmm. And that's not me to try to take that place. Just stay available, you know. That's about the best I could do.
Okay. How close would you guys be as far as being her? You guys?
I always thought
distant,
we were like close, not like super close, just like I'd say she felt comfortable to always like throw fits in front of me. Ask for like things for her birthday or Christmas, or complain, or tell me about her favorite color or food or something.
Mm-hmm. What kind of activities would you guys do together?
Oh, I would say much aside from watching TV. Yeah, that's about it. In the living room, yeah.
Okay. And then, do you guys have 2 other kids between you?
Yes, we have children? 2, and then our son that passed away.
Okay.
So we have, she's 5, and then she's 2.
Okay. And do you feel like you have a similar relationship with all 3 kids, or do you feel like you're closer with your 2 biological kids?
It's a different kind of relationship, I'd say, with my stepkids.
Riley's videos reveal a pattern in which he often describes a willingness to do anything to protect his children from local crime. However, the harrowing words of his stepdaughter may suggest that the dangers were much closer to home than anyone realized.
Oh, God, I'm just a rotten sack of The 2 daughters. You never know love until you have a kid. You know what? That's the one thing that keeps you going. You never know pain until you hold your own dead kid. That really messes you up, too.
Yet it was the bone-chilling note written by the 11-year-old girl that truly left her therapist in shock and her mother, Maya, enraged.
So she wrote it down, and what she wrote was, "He touches me and makes me uncomfortable."
In April 2024, just 4 months prior to his arrest, Riley began a crowdfunding campaign to launch a nonprofit aimed at catching online predators and deterring them from engaging in harmful acts against children.
Hey, what up, everybody? A little bit of story time. So I live in an incredibly liberal state, Washington, yeah. And every time I wear this hat out in public, you know, people always give me those looks of, ooh, it's a MAGA hat. Ooh, it's so bad. He hates everyone. But then they read it, and usually they have a pretty good laugh, you know, in support of it. Then again, you still do get those people that are offended by it, but, you know, imagine that in a blue state. Ha! You know, ooh, they have rights too. No, they don't. The victim does, but they shouldn't have any. So, pretty cool hat, make pedophiles afraid again. I love it. So, yeah, people always mistake it for a MAGA hat, and it's just great.
His videos seem to express that he would go to any lengths to ensure their safety, becoming a vocal advocate for devoted fathers.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Want to make a quick message for you on this Father's Day, right? So here's the deal. A lot of women out there are doing the whole, I'm more of a man than my man, so them dudes, they don't need no appreciation. We're just us, Stop it. Just stop it. Here's why, okay? You think that it's an empowering moment, but the problem is you're trying to take something away from a lot of really, really good dudes out there that are actually really good to their kids, right? And there are actually a lot of really hardworking, awesome single moms out there, right? That they pull both roles, and they do deserve that recognition. So if you're not feeling validated, don't take it out on everyone else. Thank you. This message was brought to you by an American that gives a... Have a wonderful day.
Given Riley's outspoken stance against preying on children, the question remains, do these horrifying allegations hold any truth? Fully aware of the chilling details, having spoken to the girl himself, the detective continues his efforts to extract answers from Riley.
I sat in an interview with just a little while ago and watched her basically relive it again when she was having to describe what was happening. I don't know how a 11-year-old girl was strong as is. But she was very descriptive of what was happening. And like I said, like, we're not here to cast judgment. We're not here to label people, and understand, like, there's things that happen in our lives that cause us to make mistakes. But it's an 11-year-old girl talking about things that were done to her that shouldn't have been done. She was talking about being told to keep it a secret and not tell anybody. And she was talking today about how she couldn't keep it inside no more and she had to tell somebody. So Riley, is there truth to what you're saying?
Many of Riley's videos even expose the potential dangers lurking on their residential street, captured on their home surveillance system. However, it's a different set of security cameras that may hold the key to unearthing the truth of the unsettling allegations against Riley.
Riley, can you tell me more about the cameras? Okay. I was trying to understand what the camera situation was. I kept hearing about cameras. So, what are they for?
Them in every room, like the kids' rooms. And then she's got them throughout the house. And we put them on the outside of the house for security reasons. And the main reason for it is just one of the stepkids is autistic, and he'll have like meltdowns or whatever maybe, and then that way she can keep an eye on him.
Mm-hmm. So. And when they're in the house, like, are they inside the bedrooms or like in the hallways, or how are they set up in there?
So in each kid's room, they have a camera like inside the room. And then in the hallway, or like the big entryway, there's one on this wall here.
Okay. Do you have access to view those cameras, or is that just...
According to Maya, however, an alarming discrepancy was uncovered when she reviewed the footage.
My daughter told me that he was unplugging all of our cameras that led to her room. I went and I checked the cameras on my phone. In the time frames that she told me he's been unplugging the cameras, there are no footage. And I've noticed that they've been unplugged or whatever. I thought it was her. The plug to that camera is at the very top, of, like almost touching the ceiling. So it's not something that she can reach unless she pushes her chair up there, which would be caught on camera if she did that. It looked like this is 7:30 is when the earliest recording is this morning.
That's unusual.
And then I went back and checked all the cameras that are upstairs that face her door, and every single one of them is most days is after 7:30 a.m. is when they all start recording.
Then every other camera's on around the house?
Yes.
They're not off? Only the ones leading to her room and in her room were off?
Correct.
With only the child's claims, the detectives must work to get a confession from Riley himself. The officer urges him to admit to the horrifying act, telling him their only goal is to get to the bottom of the truth. However, Riley hesitates as he grapples with what to do next.
Yes. Yes, be a goddamn man, Riley. Be a man. For once in your miserable existence. No turning back. We're already at this point. We're here. I don't want to say it like that. There are things that I did do.
As the interrogation continues, the investigator urges Riley to confess. However, getting a straight answer from him will be no easy task.
When you woke up today, this was the last place you'd expect to be. But it's what we do moving forward from here is what's going to affect a lot of lives. And there, like I said, there's ways to get through this. There's programs that can be offered through the court. There's things that can be offered that help you deal with the demons and all the things that you've been dealing with, the stress. There's ways to get through what happened and to help everybody move on from it. But it starts right here by being truthful, and it starts right now. It's saying that you f***ed up, because I believe what you said.
It's really hard to accept things for what they are. There's certain things in life you don't recover from. I want to tell you guys, I do. I'm trying.
I got all night, Riley.
And you guys got families. That's important. You know, God, this just sucks. So close. So close to accomplishing good things. Doing something great. So close to getting the drugs out of Aberdeen. So close to getting all the craziness out of the streets. So many people believe in me. And now it's over. It's gone.
As Riley keeps deflecting the subject, providing little to no hints, it appears as though the detective won't rest until the truth is exposed.
She said the last time it happened was this morning. And she talked about how her camera gets unplugged before you come in the room, and she just pretends to sleep. But she said that it wouldn't matter if she was sleeping or awake. It would happen anyway. And so right now we're collecting, she's up at the hospital, and we're collecting DNA samples. And this is an opportunity where I'm offering you a chance to explain what happened, and if a mistake was made, and it's time to be truthful and take ownership of the mistake and not let it catch up to you down the road being proven by DNA, because we get touch DNA off of things all the time. There's the sweat glands in your fingers contain DNA.
I did go up to her room this morning. I didn't touch her. I did not touch her. I went up there. I don't remember, see if she wanted some nuggets or something. So yeah, I made some nuggets for the younger ones.
If you didn't touch her this morning, what would cause her to say that happened?
I don't know.
And what would cause her to say that this wasn't the only time it happened? It's happened lots of times.
I don't know.
The disturbing admission finally unveils the truth, though nothing prepares the detectives for the sick and twisted reasoning he'll later give.
About how many times did this happen?
That one would have worked, actually.
5 times, maybe. Just real fast. I don't know. Just a weird impulse tick.
Over how long a period of time?
I'd say a year.
During those 5 times, would you unplug the camera when you went into her bedroom?
No. No. It would, she would already have it unplugged. Like she would do it. She would unplug it. I don't know why.
According to the child, however, the cameras were mostly unplugged by Riley himself.
How did it start?
Sorry, I'm just that I have ADHD pretty severe, so I get that in my mind thinking of the house, bills, and just now me. Now I'm here. Now that's all separated, and I have to accept that. I mean, I was going to start my new job tomorrow. And I left with a piece of shit car. And never get the SUV fixed. Needs a new engine. Now I gotta worry about her. How's she gonna make it? How's she gonna do things?
And we'll also be concerned about sleeping at night and wake up in the morning to Riley coming in her bedroom. Doesn't have to worry about that.
Before confronting Riley with the crucial question of why he would harm his own stepdaughter, he poses a different question. His answer, however, further exposes how little Riley appears to understand the gravity of the situation.
You ever talk to her about it?
No. Yeah. Actually, I apologized to her once, twice.
When it happened, or just randomly?
When it happened.
Tell me about one of the times that you apologized. What happened?
I don't know how to explain it. I just told her. What was my exact words to her? It said something along the lines of, "Kid, I'm so sorry. You know, I don't even know what the hell that was about." And I apologized. And that was about it. She didn't really, think anything of it. But God, what the?
Was she awake that time when you apologized? Because obviously,
yeah.
That how the conversation come up.
I just, it was silent and, goodbye to me. There wasn't nothing weird or anything. Then, they just said, "Hey, I did that. I'm really sorry." So I don't know. I don't understand what was that about. And then I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm fine."
In an exclusive interview obtained only by Iwu, Maya will soon speak out, offering her advice for parents of young children. In the meantime, before facing the inevitable consequences, investigators appear determined to find an answer to a crucial question.
The why is the number one question like everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know why. We can't prove why by cell phone records or DNA evidence or video footage. That just proves the who and the what and the how. The why comes from these conversations. And
obviously it's huge mistake, huge. The stress in our home has been unreal. I don't want to just give you a bunch of excuses. I should be my own person. I don't want to always get so mad at me and scream at me to not use certain things as excuses, but that's what's going on. There's so much just on my shoulders at all times, just chewing in my ear constantly. It sucks. It really, really, really sucks. Like I said, it's not even a sexual thing. I don't feel attracted. It's just this weird impulse. I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird. God, this is just a weird conversation. Developing, in certain areas, and what's wrong with me?
With Riley's confession, along with an unsettling answer to the question of why he would have committed such a depraved act, his arrest is imminent. However, the investigator has one final heartbreaking question.
If in here, would you have anything to tell her?
Oh, I'm beyond sorry of all the damage this has caused her, her mom, her sisters, her brothers, the community, literally everything and everyone that is let down by this. I'm sorry to recover it. I deserve whatever's coming my direction. I deserve it. And I hope that she can heal and they all find what it is that they need in their life to live the absolute best life that they can.
An apology, however, will do little to prevent the consequences that await him, as he's led away in handcuffs and taken to Grays Harbor County Jail. In the meantime, Riley's wife Maya shares red flags she noticed after his arrest and offers advice for parents, hoping to prevent the same terrifying fate from happening to others.
He did not get along with my boys because my boys are on the spectrum and they clashed a lot. They're teenage boys. And so I didn't think anything of that until everything came out. It wasn't a red flag in the moment as it was happening. But then after this all came out, that's what was actually happening. It's like, oh, crap. Background checks mean nothing. For women that are dating right now, background checks mean nothing because he had nothing. He was squeaky clean, and I had 4 children when I first met him. I didn't really see any red flags at first. Nothing really happened to a severity that I should have been paying attention to it until we bought our house together, and then I was 100% reliant on him. I had quit my job. I helped him get sober so that he can go back and get to work and everything. And no woman should ever put herself out for a man. Just even though you think you love him and you think it won't be him, it probably will be.
After Riley's arrest, Maya explains that the public response to their situation has led her to becoming a target of unexpected scrutiny, with many people questioning why she has cameras in her children's rooms in the first place.
I do have disabled children that require severe supervision, and they've been in home care and all these sorts of different cares, and I was advised by professionals to have these cameras.
39-year-old Riley Tyrell Carter was officially charged with multiple counts of first-degree rape of a child and first-degree child molestation. While in jail, Riley is swabbed for DNA, which will later be compared to the assault kit performed on the 11-year-old girl. His bail was set at $150,000. On August 2, 2024, a press release from the city of Aberdeen announced his resignation from his city council position. Though the case is still ongoing, Maya was able to inform Iwu that a trial is currently set to begin on March 11, 2025.
When the Sony PlayStation 2 launched and shot to stardom, the reasons you heard for it were pretty much twofold. One was the incredible hype created before its release. Supercomputer levels of power and 3D polygon graphics, the likes the Earth had never seen before, were amongst the boasts you heard from Sony and the media of the day. There was also the inclusion of a DVD player, at a time when standalone players were still fairly expensive. It was the first console to do it, and it was said to make a massive difference in its retail adoption. But like most stories, things are a lot more complicated the more opinions you seek. While the previously mentioned traits certainly helped the PlayStation 2, I believe an often overlooked fact gets far too little credit for its explosive rise as market leader. I give you Grand Theft Auto 3. It appeared first on the PlayStation 2 back in October 2001, only a year after the console's North American launch. It was a media darling and shot to a sales success to the tune of millions of units sold. It was the best-selling game of 2001, the second best-selling game of 2002, and would go on to be the best-selling series on the PlayStation 2 by a huge margin. Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas occupy 3 of the top 5 best-selling game slots for this console, amounting to over 40 million units of software moved worldwide. I posit they are as integral to the PlayStation 2's success as DVD and its bullshit marketing ever were. Of course, due to the massive popularity of the first game, many have wondered whether the game could have been done on Sega's Dreamcast. As you know, it actually began life as a Dreamcast title, but shifted to the PlayStation 2 when it was clear Sega wasn't setting the console market ablaze. To add fuel to the fire, conflicting reports out of Rockstar made differing accounts of what happened. One of Rockstar's founders claimed the Dreamcast simply couldn't do it, basically saying had it stayed on Sega's console, it would have been top-down like the previous games in the series. Another developer on the original project said he believed it was possible. What was the truth exactly? We finally got an answer to that question thanks to a dedicated group of very talented people. Jumping into the game, we are met with an options menu that allows you to play with the controller mapping, sound, graphics, and a few other things. But I honestly didn't know if any of this would work or make things run funky, so I left the majority of it alone. I did change 2 settings in the graphics department, turning off trails and turning off the performance cap. And then I was in Grand Theft Auto 3 in all its open world glory. I escaped the police transport, started doing off jobs for low-level criminals, and then just started causing mayhem for the hell of it. I had read that the build here was in its alpha state, and to expect problems, but I only ever saw a few audio sync issues and that was it. For over 2 hours it didn't crash, ran fine, and played great. The only real issue I faced was something inherent to the Dreamcast itself. If the view goes to hell during heavy action, you have to stop, hold X, adjust the camera where you want it, and then start playing again. This only takes a second or two, but in this game that's the difference between a successful mission and restarting it over and over. I suspect this will be a point of frustration for many who seriously try to play this game's harder missions deeper into the story. In fact, had this made it to a retail product back in the day, I can almost guarantee you the Dreamcast version would have been rated lower thanks to the limitations of the single stick control. I have to admit though, gunplay aside, the control was great otherwise. Navigating the city was easy, grabbing a car no issue, and the melee combat was easy to pull off. It played great for the majority of my time with it, but I definitely needed some extra time to adjust to that camera setup. I'm not gonna mince words here, Grand Theft Auto 3 on the Dreamcast, even at this early build, looks and runs surprisingly well. It's sharp, the draw distance is tolerable, the frame rate doesn't get in the way, and the model and texture detail meets expectations. There are some things you should know, however. First, this is built off of the PC edition, so it inherently has a number of enhancements over the PlayStation 2 original, such as higher polygon models. The Dreamcast version is running at 640 by 480, has a wide screen option, and a few other graphics toggles you can play around with. The important thing to remember is that your mileage will vary depending on how you play it. Should you use a CD in your drive, you're gonna get more stutters and later texture draw in. In my case, I was using a Terra Onion mode and an SSD, which seemed to run everything flawlessly. Again, it was super sharp, and even the weather effects didn't crash my performance to any terrible degree. I did notice some mild polygon cracking here and there, and some of the motion blur seemed off, but all that was definitely outlier instances that didn't happen very often. I was impressed with the visuals overall, and even at this early state, it's showing big promise to be something special. If this team nails down any stability issues, improves CD performance, and cleans up some of those graphics issues I mentioned, I don't think anyone can legitimately complain about how this looks and runs on the Dreamcast. It's already damn near a retail product level of quality, and any improvements made in the future make an already good thing even better. For the sound, the previously mentioned sync issues did pop up a few times here and there. For me, it was mostly early in the game and mainly during the cinematics. The world sound effects, the car radio, and the rest of the voice work in the field seemed to be fine most of the time. Again, I was on an ODE with an SSD, so you may find things a bit different if you're playing from a CD, but I was damn impressed with how it sounded. Here's a bit of the radio chatter. There's a few other things you should know if you want to play this on your Dreamcast. First, you're gonna need the original PC version to make a viable Dreamcast image. You're also gonna need Git SCM, Dream SDK, and the reverse engineered code from the developers. This is not for the faint of heart, and it involves needing a retail product to keep it out of the sights of Rockstar's lawyers. For those with the assets and the courage to move ahead, I will link you to some pretty detailed instructions on how to get it working. Once you get it up and running, you're going to want to clean up a memory card so that Grand Theft Auto 3 can use it all by its lonesome. For you VA2 Dreamcast users, the developers state that this will not work on that model, so keep that in mind. I'd also like to take a moment and thank everyone that worked on this and made it possible. A game of this scale and scope running on its original starting platform is a dream come true, and a reckoning of sorts. Many arguments have been made that the Dreamcast could not handle this game, and now you see that not only can it, but in some ways, do it even better than you ever imagined. So there you go guys, a quick look at Grand Theft Auto 3 for your Sega Dreamcast. To sum up, it looks great, runs good, and plays well enough. That one analog stick issue I mentioned is being explored by additional controller adapter support and eventually a keyboard and mouse option. I also love that the mission statement on the developer's website says the goal is to get the game running perfectly on the Dreamcast. That's so incredible to hear, and I applaud the high standards of the team. Be sure to check the description for the links I mentioned for this fantastic project. I'm Sega Lord X.
Why do people like Ocarina of Time so much?
Seriously, how did the Master Sword even get here? Upon entering the region of Eldin for the final time in Skyward Sword, while Link is descending, the volcano suddenly erupts, which causes him to veer off course. While Link is knocked out because of his rough landing, all of your items are stolen from you by bokoblins and scattered across the area, including your Master Sword. But how is this possible? The only two people who have ever been confirmed to be able to touch the Master Sword are Link and Zelda, and yet someone else very clearly was able to not only touch, but transport the Master Sword a great distance. It wasn't Eldon the Fire Dragon because Fee makes it obvious that she's still never seen him before once you finally recover the Master Sword, and it wasn't Fee who moved it since she implies that she's been there the whole time against her will. Eldon himself never even mentions anything about it either, so what's going on here? Are monsters and demons actually able to touch the Master Sword after all? Or was this simply—
If only every adventure began with your makers of wishes come true. They would—
First smell like gas, and it smelled like feces, and then it smelled like death.
Now remember, when we open this is something that we're never going to be able to unsee. Is it a bloodbath in there?
On May 22, 2019, police in Sturgis, Michigan listened to an anonymous 911 caller read them an address. Inside this home, the caller explained, they would find the missing 42-year-old Kelly Jean Warner Miller. Little did authorities know that single phone call would launch the most shocking investigation of their careers, one that required uncovering secret after haunting secret, all buried within an exceptionally twisted and sadistic mind. The following footage has never been seen before. When Kelly Jean, known as KJ, went missing in April 2019, no red flags went up. There were no frantic phone calls to 911 and no weary search parties. But it wasn't because KJ wasn't loved. The trouble was that her lifestyle was transient. She was estranged from her family and had untreated mental health struggles. This meant that sometimes long periods of absence were the norm for KJ. So when police received a 911 call sending them to an address to look for her, and officers found themselves standing on the doorstep of an ordinary-looking apartment, it was hard to believe the call was even real. After all, this wasn't the kind of thing one saw in the small town of Sturgis, Michigan. But there was only one way to find out.
She said inside on the left.
Alright, let's get some water right now.
Hi, Wade.
Hey, Wade. How you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good.
I remember you from the Speedway.
Yeah. What are you up to now?
Not much.
Answering the door is 35-year-old Wade Allen.
We're looking for Kimberly.
Kelly?
Or Kelly. She.
You know Kelly?
Kimberly or Kelly?
From the shelter, maybe?
KJ?
KJ?
Yeah.
At first, Wade seems confused, and for good reason. It's close to midnight, and he's been startled awake by several armed officers knocking on his door. Wade recently came to live in this apartment after a period of homelessness, and KJ was an acquaintance from a shelter he frequented in Kalamazoo.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard from that person in some months.
Do you know her?
I haven't heard from her in a while. The last time I've seen her is couple months, and last I heard she's in Kalamazoo. I think the best way for me to help you get a hold of her is through the shelter.
The eerie atmosphere is palpable. With a call like this, officers can't simply take Wade's words as fact. They need to confirm what, if anything, is behind his front door.
Well, we just need to talk to her.
Oh, well,
do you mind if we come and look, see if make sure she's not here?
I could tell you she's not. I mean,
According to Wade, he and KJ had lost touch recently after she suddenly stopped responding to his Facebook messages.
As far as here, I don't like just... My place is a mess, and I don't like just people coming and going all the time.
We don't care. We see all sorts of apartments and homes and...
Well,
all we gotta do is verify she's not here, and then we can get out of here and be done with it.
I don't know. I feel iffy. If you guys want to come by another time, just not right now. Let me at least have a day where I can clean up and do things.
Okay. Well, here's the deal, Wade. If we gotta get a search warrant, we will. All right.
Okay.
We don't want to go that route.
I know.
That's a lot of work for all of us, including you. So, if we gotta do that, we're gonna have to detain you and put you in the car for a little while. All right, until we get that search warrant. It'll take a couple hours. If she's in there, can you just have her come out and say I'm fine?
Well, she's not though. That's the thing. Like, I mean, I can open up and I'll say, "Hey, KJ, Kelly," and there's no Kelly or KJ.
You mind if I just stand here and look in?
You can. I mean, I don't have her here.
Okay.
Eventually, Wade agrees to let one officer, one he's met in the past, search his apartment.
Do you want if it's just one of you then?
One of us is fine.
Do you want to come in?
I'll go in, Wade. Thank you.
I know you know me enough. Like,
yeah, I just.
It's not much, but I don't have. I mean, I got my friend's sunglasses here, but not much of anything. And then I got all this. This is my bedroom. You see? Not here. I had her suitcase from when she was here. Just me, and if I do have a guest, I have a bed.
As Wade guides the officers through his home, nothing in particular is jumping out, but just as it seems the search is coming to a close, one thing catches the officer's eye.
I don't have anyone here.
Okay.
All
right, man. What's in the cooler?
Oh, that's for when the summer comes around. I'm gonna have parties and stuff. So.
All right, no problem. Can you open that for me, and then we'll get out of here?
Well, not right now. I can't. Like, I mean, I want to save that for later.
Okay.
For when the summer gets here. So. But I showed you. She hasn't been here in forever.
Okay. Well, why don't you just open that cooler and we'll get out of here? I just want to make sure anywhere that she could be hiding.
She's not gonna be hiding.
Well, I just need to know that, okay?
No, I mean, I can help you out there, but I've shown you everything.
Okay.
Wade seems eager to end the search and get back to bed, but his strangely evasive behavior is only working against him.
All right.
You want to open that cooler for me?
Well,
can you open the fridge for me? Make sure she's not hiding in there.
There's no point in the fridge either. Like, I mean, it's just food and stuff.
I understand.
No.
All right, why don't you throw your shoes on real quick?
Well, I helped you out. I showed
you did partially, but do you have shoes you can throw on real quick?
A little bit. But here, I'll help you. You know.
Okay, I'll help you out. Go on out.
Well, I gotta
You're detained right now. Okay, go on out.
I'm detained.
You're detained. Right, walk out there.
As the walls seem to close in on Wade, he's forced to make a decision. He can stick to his guns or prove to the police that they really have nothing to worry about.
You said let me get my shoes on.
You're not gonna get them on now. I'm giving you the opportunity to walk out there. Do it now. You got anything illegal on you?
No, I don't.
Okay, put your hands behind your back.
You got a knife or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Why don't you turn around against the wall real slowly.
Being detained, I'm just...
Just want the opportunity to look the rest of the way through the apartment, okay?
Well, I showed you everything. Here, let me...
Do you want to show me?
I will. I showed you everything.
Why don't you walk back in there and show me then?
But I did. You see?
Can I look in that fridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something...
Okay. I see she's not in there.
What you want to be in the fridge?
I understand that, but we gotta look. We found people in some crazy places.
With no sign of KJ, Wade makes no attempt to hide his frustration with police.
She wouldn't have to hide.
Well, I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. I don't know if she's hiding from the law or hiding from her family or what she's doing.
Well, I don't think she would.
I just want to verify, okay? Can I look in that cooler over there?
That's kind of, like I said, later on and summer stuff, but I'm trying to keep my stuff kind of private, you know?
Well, that's fine. All I want to do is open it, say, KJ, you in there? And then close it right back up, and I'll get out of here. You'll be out of handcuffs, and we'll be gone.
Well, let's have a warrant for the rest of this, and I'll just get detained. I don't understand why all this.
Seemingly confused at the invasion of his personal space, Wade agrees to wait it out while officers request a search warrant.
Why don't you just have a seat right there?
Well, do you mind if I wait out here? I mean...
No, I gotta type up a search warrant. But at this point, I'm suspicious that she is in there.
Why?
So, because you won't let me look in that cooler or any other big boxes in there. I didn't see anything else I need to look through, but that big cooler, I have no idea what size she is. If she's a little person, you could probably put 2 of her in that cooler. That cooler was that big. So basically, I was going to make sure she's not hidden in there. It took you a little while to answer your door, so I don't know if she was...
The reason why I took a while is because I had to get dressed.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. If you were in bed, yeah. But in the meantime, you could have been telling somebody to go hide in the cooler. I don't know. She's not in trouble. We just have a job to do.
As officers repeatedly ask Wade to wait in the cruiser, he does everything he can think of to avoid the back seat.
I actually like to stay out here if that's okay.
Well, we can't.
Sit right here if that's okay.
You can sit long ways across the seat, but you got to get all the way in. You want to put your back towards the other door, you can, or whatever's more comfortable for you.
Once Wade finally gets settled, officers catch up a few feet away, and they're quick to voice concerns.
Well, he's trying to steer me away from this big old cooler that's in the corner of his living room. It's a big, huge green cooler, and he's got boxes stacked on top of it.
Meanwhile, a somewhat cooperative Wade is still squirming in the back of the squad car.
I feel claustrophobic.
Okay.
I really am.
Well, all right, we'll head back there, okay? We'll put you...
I'm really feeling claustrophobic right now.
Okay. Well... Well, we could end this all. You can take me in there and let me look around more, or I've got to take you back and put you in a cell while I'm doing the search warrant. So.
All right, well, let me go back then.
As Wade silently leads the officer back to his apartment, a strange energy hangs heavy in the air.
All I'm concerned about is any closets or any coolers.
Like I said, just in here. Watch.
Okay. Can I pop it open? Just take a peek.
Well, yeah, if you want.
Okay. Why don't you step back for a second?
Okay.
What's in there?
Just stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's head out here. Head out here. What's in there?
Just stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's head out here. Head out here. Okay.
Everything's good now.
Yep. Everything's good.
I showed you everything.
Yep. You're under arrest, okay?
Under arrest?
Yes, you are.
All right.
Gotta get the crime task force out here.
Can I have a soda, please?
Just keep walking.
Once outside and back in the patrol car, Wade seems eager to fill the silence.
This situation happened, and
yeah. Yep.
That's probably the best way for me to put it right now.
The officers already seem to have an idea that something horrible happened in that apartment, but they couldn't yet know just how twisted things will get by the end of this disturbing case.
I am currently sitting on a car with a guy in the back seat who has done something bad.
As some of the officers begin searching the apartment, others transport Wade to the station and settle in for a long night, doing their best to put him at ease. Whatever happened, they need to know the full story. When he does start to talk, the story he has to tell is only a small piece of the truth, and what really happened to KJ is far more disturbing than anyone could have ever imagined.
We got some homemade cookies in there that are really good. You want a couple cookies?
I'm sorry to pass on that.
You want a couple of them, or?
Yeah, I'm a greedy guy.
Okay, all right. We will get you hooked up. All right, man. Here's some cookies. I can get started on those.
Soon, the detective arrives. While Wade insinuated earlier that KJ was merely a distant friend, it's not long before that story changes.
And I think it goes back to like 2013 with her.
Okay.
And we started being friends, but we started probably dating sometime after that.
So would it be fair to say that you've known Kelly Jean since 2013 and recently?
Oh, I've known her before that, but that was just when she added me on Facebook.
Recently, according to Wade, he even lived with KJ in his current apartment.
All right, Wade, so what I would like to know from you is, in your own words, what happened to Kelly Jean?
I know she's went through a lot. Really a lot. Might take a little bit to describe, but there's a lot.
Please take your time. I have nowhere else to be. So I will bear with you. Officer Wire will bear with you.
Absolutely.
If you need a tissue, there's plenty of tissues there.
Earlier, the search of Wade's apartment revealed some chilling discoveries.
So there's a rope, there's a bungee cords. We got the trash bag. Some type of ribbon. Bungee. Looks like a female belt. Girl shoes, those green ones.
I'll start with saying that she's hyperglycemic.
Okay.
Alright, so her eating levels are important. She has to have a certain amount of sugars or whatever. I only bring that to attention because I know at one point while she was making cereal, she fainted and really hurt her head, and it really concerned me. Because a little after that, I started seeing impairment issues, whether speech, memory, things like that. I was concerned.
How long ago would you say that was? Yeah, that's good. I mean, right here. You seeing this?
For her, that incident had to have happened in March.
Okay, so it's been a little bit ago.
I want to say March.
When she fell, did she become unconscious? Did she knock herself out? Did she just kind of stun herself? Did she?
She was unconscious for a little bit.
Okay, about how long would you say a little bit would be?
Well, I would say 5 to 10 minutes, and even though that might seem like a little bit to me, that's a long time for someone to be unconscious.
And as Wade tells it, KJ's symptoms lingered in the days after her fall, and they weren't subtle. She had no memory of what happened, and she struggled to carry out daily functions that weren't a challenge for her before. Though KJ did suffer from these symptoms, what Wade is saying happened isn't the full story, and what really happened to her is far more disturbing than just a fall.
And then I was trying to take care of her.
Wade isn't the only person police spoke to. They also asked his neighbor Sherry, who lived right next door, to come to the station to answer some questions and hopefully shed some light on what really happened to KJ. According to Sherry, she and Wade had a cordial relationship, occasionally spending evenings watching TV together in her apartment. But Wade made a comment about KJ that left Sherry watching TV together in her apartment. But Wade made a comment about KJ that left Sherry feeling concerned.
Also, he told me that she had fallen in the bathroom and that he thought she might have a skull fracture.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you need to take her to the emergency room. He goes, I'm taking care of her.
This development immediately put officers on high alert. In the story he told officers, Wade explained KJ fell in the kitchen while making cereal. In this version, Wade said she fell in the bathroom. This is only the first of many red flags in this story.
She wasn't able to feed herself. And that really concerned me. I did my best to try to help feed her. So one time I came in, I saw her sitting on a tub, and I tried to feed her this meal, one of these freezer dinners. I have a bunch of those, and it was chili. And she was just kind of like holding it like this, and then she just moving so slow, and there was just chili all over her.
Wade explained that KJ even struggled to drink water at times, despite his attempts to help her.
Did you try to get some medical treatment for her, see what was going on, anything like that?
I didn't take her, no. I didn't know if she could move or get around.
What do you mean by that?
She wasn't walking all that fast. Like I said, her motor skills were not good. I did start talking to her caseworker about how she might need an adult foster care. You know, because before even that, there were issues of bladder control problems. Like on my bed, I got a big old yellow stamp for where she'd be on that. She in the kitchen, like she had issues with bladder control.
Sherry, Wade's neighbor, had more to share. Over time, she'd grown to feel extremely uneasy in his company. It wasn't long before an eerie and unprompted confession validated her strange feelings about Wade. From here, the story takes an even darker turn, suggesting that what police know about Wade so far barely scratches the surface.
He told me that he hit women.
He told you that he hit women?
Yeah, and that he was working on it because I've been through domestic violence, and I told him, you can't do that, you know? I said, you can go to jail for that. He goes, I know, I'm working on it.
After Wade's comments, Sherry remained friendly, but guarded, and she decided to ease off of their visits.
I thought, I don't want him in my house because he can do anything.
Right.
Within 2 weeks of KJ's supposed fall, Wade claims that something terrible happened. Keep in mind that he knows the officers are working their way through his apartment, and he knows what they're going to find. He's setting himself up with a story he thinks will explain away the stomach-churning evidence.
I figured she'd be okay in a bathtub, just taking a bath. No. So I started the water for her. thought she'd be okay if she was laying down, not standing up. I wouldn't have to watch over her.
She wouldn't fall.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I see her in the morning, she wasn't breathing, and I just, what really shocked me is when I saw her feet. And it means that she started with hot water, and I don't know, didn't have the strength to turn the knob, or I can't understand why she didn't turn it or adjust it, or and I don't know if that was the cause of death. Is hot water, or if maybe she tried to get up and fell or something. I don't know. I seriously do want to know what the cause of death was, because I really don't know.
With this claim, Wade has confirmed that KJ isn't missing. She's dead.
When you left the bathroom, how was she positioned?
She was laying in the tub.
Okay.
So this is where I don't see anything on the outside of the fridge. To the naked eye.
What just happened?
See anything underneath?
What did he do? He's going crazy with this because it's like the final opponent team.
And did you go back in there?
I went to sleep.
You went to sleep.
I thought she was okay.
Authorities struggle to understand Wade's logic. In what world would someone leave a person who was incapable of eating, drinking, or moving around without help alone in a tub full of water? There's one very good reason for this. Wade isn't telling them the truth. While on a break in the back room, officers wrestle with ideas about what's really going on.
This guy, like, not all there.
He's not all there. We thought I figured that you could choke him up pretty easy, but he's either really good or he's just, I don't think he's all there.
As the police will soon learn, it isn't that Wade is out of his mind. Rather, he's attempting to manipulate them in order to hide the truth of what really happened to KJ. But the horrors uncovered back at his apartment will reveal an entirely different version of events.
So your cast's off. Something's right there, because that's CS.
Birds over here. It's way down at Sienna.
Yeah. That looks like it hit pretty level.
It's almost like it's all the way across.
When the officers interviewing Wade return to speak with him, they press him further, hoping to get a story that makes sense. What Wade soon tells them is chilling.
And then when did you go back into the bathtub? Or the bathroom, I'm sorry.
Not till morning when I woke up and realized she wasn't in bed with me.
Was the water still running, or was the water off?
Water was off, so she had to have turned it at some point. Had to have.
Was her head above water or below the water?
Below water.
Below water. Okay. What happened at that point? Did you call 911? Did you call anybody at all?
My parents.
If KJ's death was truly an accident, it's hard to fathom why Wade wouldn't immediately call for help. Wade has also just lied to police, or at the very least, he's leaving something integral out of this story. Given the 911 call reporting KJ's death, Wade had to have told someone about KJ's death.
He had her in the bathtub for a little while, and I don't think he's going to be very cooperative with you.
Okay. Well, most people aren't.
It turns out that Wade had no question in his mind about the identity of the mysterious caller who reported him to the authorities.
I only have one friend which probably made the call, and I'm not going to be upset with him. He probably got to a point where his conscience got to him too.
And Wade was right. The caller was his own best friend, Stephen Ryan Russ. Wade explained that after everything had happened, his only way to cope with KJ's death was to tell someone. So he confided in Stephen. But what he told him was so disturbing that Stephen couldn't keep it to himself. When police bring Stephen in for questioning, it's clear from the start he has reservations about speaking up.
Is this going to be in court?
This could possibly be used in court, yeah.
So Wade's going to know about this?
He already knows.
All right.
So the whole case came to light when Central Dispatch got a call regarding Wade and KJ. Do you know about that call?
Yes, I do.
Did you place that call to Central Dispatch?
Yes, I did.
And what was that call in reference to?
My family was getting very scared of him, and it was to the point that they couldn't even sleep, so I had to do something.
Stephen continues, explaining the series of Facebook messages that turned his world upside down.
He said that he did something and that he can't talk to anyone about it. And I was like, well, I'm your brother. You can talk to me.
According to Stephen, Wade then explained that KJ had passed away unexpectedly, and he didn't report her death to the police.
He wanted us to help him move the body with the car, and we both told him no, that we can't do that. And I was like, you're one of my closest friends, and I'll keep your secret for you, but obviously I couldn't.
In interrogation, Wade tries to explain his choice to hide KJ's death, hoping to ease detective suspicions.
It's hard to feel like I can be honest if I feel like I go through scenarios all the time where I'm accused. And
well, I can tell you, we're not here making any accusation. We're just here to
it's hard to
figure out what happened.
I didn't do the right action. I probably should have reported. I should have done something's right, and I just felt like whatever I would have said would have just been taken the wrong way or said the wrong way. And
by now, Wade knew he was in trouble. KJ's body was still in his apartment, and he needed it gone. Stephen eventually paid him a visit, and things only got worse.
He's asked me if I wanted to see the body, and I told him no. I really didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't even want to be in there because it felt like there was an elephant sitting on my chest.
When asked why Wade would keep KJ's body in the apartment, Stephen gave an answer that only hinted at the truth.
My guess is because he didn't have the means of getting rid of it. I treated it like I was guilty of the situation. I felt like no matter what I say or do, I was just going to be guilty. But I figured no matter what, the best I'll do is I want to give her a proper burial somewhere.
Wade's desire to give KJ a proper burial is chilling, and his next comments stir up the eerie feeling that Wade desires some sort of control, a theme that will surface again soon. As disturbing as this story is, it's only the beginning of the sickening revelations, because Wade still isn't telling the full story.
At least wherever I'll put her, I would visit her. I wouldn't want her to have, like, nobody visit her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what you guys would do with her now, but if I could know where she was buried, I would like to go.
Cool, brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new.
She was buried, I would like to go.
Cool, brand new.
Yeah.
Got some paper stuff. I want to look, so.
The police then question Wade about what happened after he claims he found KJ dead, and he launches into a truly sickening timeline. But no matter how shocking his revelations seem, they pale in comparison to what's to come when the truth is revealed.
So let's get back to our sequence of what how things kind of played out and what happened. So wake up in the morning, she's in the bathtub, she's not breathing. What transpired from there?
Well, it's not pretty, I'll tell you that. Seeing things that I can't unsee. But... Okay, so it took me a while to get some coolers. In the process of that, I would run cold water on her until I got some coolers, because I was like, I mean, you have a lot of detective shows, right?
Sure.
So
they're
they
good.
tell you if you keep the body cold or something, maybe it'll preserve it. I don't know. Maybe I'm ignorant in what I'm thinking, but that's TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the whole decomposition process. And because I'd come in and check on her, and I know she passed, so I still talk to her.
Okay.
Which probably makes you crazy.
I definitely don't think that it's something that makes you crazy. I mean, it's no different than someone who goes to a gravesite and talks to one of their loved ones who's passed.
First couple days, she's movable, right?
Right.
Then after that, you see like the blood kind of settle where she was laying at.
Mm-hmm.
And a little after that, that's when I start seeing like black around her fingertips and her groin and waistline and like black around her waistline. And by then she was pretty stiff for a good while. Because when she was laying in the tub, she kind of laid like against the wall, I think, or something. But even after a while, the stiffness faded away, and she just kind of, laid on her shoulder.
Now, Wade was in a pickle. With a decomposing body in his bathtub and with Stephen's refusal to help him move it, it was only a matter of time until someone caught on. So, he hatched a plan. On April 12th, around 6 days after KJ's death, Wade saved up the money to buy a large cooler, air freshener, and 30-gallon trash bags.
So what happened at that point? You said that you bought one and then realized you needed a second. What do you mean by that?
Well, I wanted to put her all in one so she could be whole. But I couldn't really move her in any kind of way to keep her whole. Nothing I could do to keep her remain whole. That's where it really got gross.
So, is it a bloodbath in there?
What happened at that point?
Well, when I had to get the second cooler, I had to put her legs in that one. And I'm not gonna lie, that was the grossest thing ever.
And I guess help me understand how she was in one and her legs were on another.
I had to cut her legs so I could fit me out.
Okay, when you say that, you mean that her body was too big for the first cooler? So you couldn't fit her in the first cooler? And was she too stiff to be able to move her around to put her in the cooler?
If I could move her, I would have had her like knees up to her chest or something.
But you couldn't.
When Wade couldn't fit KJ's body into one large cooler, he decided dismemberment was his only option. But he didn't exactly keep a low profile. Instead, he asked to borrow a saw from his neighbor Sherry, not an unusual request if it weren't for his bizarre explanation. According to Sherry, Wade claimed he needed the tool to cut his mattress in half. When he wasn't able to use someone else's saw, he purchased his own from a local supermarket and then got to work.
Where did you cut her legs at?
This is the most disgusting thing ever. Hopefully you never have to see something like this in your life. Ever. Alright, so here and then here. I started here, but then I realized her knees were still over to the edge. So I had to go here too. What I would have wanted to do, except she was too heavy for me, is take her under the shower and wash her off, because after she passed on, she crapped herself. I was like, man, I didn't even know that until I got her into the cooler.
The police working their way through Wade's apartment eventually confronted the sickening discovery hidden in his cooler.
Now remember, when we open this, this is something that we're never going to be able to unsee. Oh, yeah. Her head, her arms, her breasts. She's been gone for a while. Yep. Her legs are detached and above the knee. Yep. Bugs have made their way in. Yep. There's a large amount of food there. Definitely a female. Appears to be Caucasian. Naked, no clothes. Okay. Oh, yeah. And cut up.
Nice. Okay, now it stinks.
Well, so there's a lot more evidence in here somewhere.
It stinks.
Yeah, now it does.
The officers have only discovered part of what they believe to be KJ's body, but it won't be long before they find the rest.
Good picture of that. So that's where it is. Okay. So we're going to move this. Boy, drops it right in front of the suitcase. So this cooler is what we think might have the other parts in it. I will lift it up. It is tied in a knot up here. I will cut right here. Yep, those are her legs. I saw some toes and an ankle. Were you able to open that up? Yeah, there's 2 of them in there. Okay, it's probably not the best place to puke.
From his apartment, authorities also collected clear safety goggles, rubber gloves, and several small items, including bungee cords, a black belt, and a white ribbon. This white ribbon, a seemingly innocuous discovery compared to the horrors already uncovered, would turn out to be a clue to the stomach-churning truth of what really happened to KJ.
Was her head attached?
Yeah.
She's just
in the cooler. She's
yeah.
this head basically bent down like that.
That's all I seen was her arm and part of her chest, and I just shut it
about right here
through the femur.
Authorities shift focus to the saw, which wasn't recovered from Wade's apartment during the initial search. Wade says that shortly after he dismembered KJ's body, he contacted a friend he knew through the local shelter system to negotiate a trade, a saw for a DVD player.
Was there a reason that you got rid of it, or just had it and didn't really need it, or I mean, how did that whole thing play out with Bill?
He needed it, and I needed a DVD player.
While Wade describes trading the saw as a casual, serendipitous event, police catch up with the man who received the saw, and he describes an entirely different scenario.
Like, he really was wanting to give it to me. I'm like, well, just wait till I bring you the DVD, because I don't like doing deals where, you know, I owe somebody, because then I got it on the back of my mind constantly. I have to, you know, I owe them. So I was like, just wait. He's like, no, here, just take it out.
Would you say that he was insisting that you take the saw?
Pretty much, yes, he was insisting. Because I even said, no, not right now.
Did you notice anything about the saw that was weird, different?
Looking at the could see, like, in a serration, it looked like a chunk of something in there.
DNA testing of the saw blade did reveal the possibility of blood present, although further details could not be confirmed.
I mean, I'm not proud of anything at all.
Sure, but stuff happens, and we're just trying to get
Not how this should be. Like, I kept saying this word, like, this is not how you should have went. This.
Upon reflection, Bill explained this wasn't the only thing that seemed off when he was around Wade.
And then when you heard about Wade getting arrested, what was the first thought in your mind?
I didn't believe it. I'm like, because I've been hanging out with him. I freaked out because I was sitting on the cooler and I didn't know. I smelled like, you know, now I know what a dead body smells like, but that smell was there. As soon as I walked in, it was bad. You know, I was just thinking, man, this guy got some nasty bowels or something. Right. That's what I honestly thought that was, but now I know that was a body.
By now, the police are more than suspicious that the story Wade is telling them isn't the truth, but just what exactly he was hiding remained to be seen. Still, Sherry, Wade's neighbor, may have had some idea about what was really going on behind the closed door of Wade's apartment. In her interview, she recalled one of the few interactions she ever had with KJ. One day, she stopped by Wade's door to ask for coffee and was surprised when KJ greeted her at the door. Sherry didn't know it at the time, but as KJ peered out from behind the front door, she didn't have a stitch of clothing on. KJ agreed to send Wade over shortly. When he showed up on Sherry's doorstep, coffee in hand, he wasn't happy. According to Sherry, Wade admitted to forcing KJ to walk around their home naked, and by answering the door that day, she'd apparently crossed the line.
He said, she shouldn't have opened the door like that. I said, well, I didn't see anything. And he goes, I'm gonna have to get the belt out.
But back in the interrogation room, Wade doesn't do much to refute his neighbor's accusations. In fact, he expands on them.
You've never gone to jail for fighting somebody or pushing somebody or any kind of domestic violence or anything crazy like that?
The domestic things in the past have been dismissed in court.
A pattern is beginning to emerge. While Wade admits fault in some instances, the admissions almost seem calculated, as if they're designed to distract from the larger questions at hand.
I said, if I hear any domestic violence, I'm gonna call the police.
Sherry never called the police, but Wade eventually admits to the officers that he did hurt KJ.
All right, I kicked her in the butt because I was ashamed of her cheating on me and such. You know, I shouldn't have, but I did. And then, come to find out in court, she tried to blame these bruises of her ankles on me. I said, I had nothing to do with her ankles. That's false evidence. Because what happened was she fell down by the railroad, again, the balance issue, by the railroad tracks, and that caused the bruises from her ankles rolling.
Not from you kicking her, though.
No.
Gotcha.
Hotel report required. You want to know just chilling in this spot in this house.
Guess she had reason for concern.
Soon, officers place Wade in a holding cell while they continue to investigate, and as if it were everyday conversation, Wade nonchalantly confirms his neighbor's allegations. Earlier, when Wade was first brought in, he contemplated his choice to hide KJ's death. Most disturbingly, despite knowing what the officers at his apartment were going to discover and knowing what he had done, he somehow still had an appetite to eat the cookies offered to him.
All right, Wade, so
we got the ending here. A lot of people worked on this. Let's see what we get next on the list. Virtual bowling. No screenshot for some reason. Only works sometimes. Baseball sim, it says. That was a sin. That's pretty funny.